Council, if you will come to order, it is 7 p.m. on August the 23rd, and we do have a quorum. Councilmember Perro is absent tonight for personal reasons. In just a minute, I will ask everyone to stand. I'll lead us in an opening prayer, and afterwards remain standing as Mayor Pro Tem Lamont leads us in pledges to the American flag and to the Texas flag. Please stand. Gracious God, we do gather tonight in your name, asking for your Spirit to be with us as we deliberate and take care of business for the town and our community and for our citizens. We thank you, Father, for the manifold blessings that you pour out upon our community that blesses us with active, lively, healthy citizens who care about quality of life, and for a staff that serves through the town those citizens to provide all of the qualities that they seek in their lifestyle. We are reminded of the special blessing needed upon those first responders, both police and fire, that protect us and care for us. We thank you for the quality of their lives and for the dedication they have to their fellow man. All these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
You may be seated.
If they're not cleaning up.
It is now time for citizens' presentations. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the council on any matter, whether or not it is posted on the agenda. The council is not permitted to take action on or discuss any presentations made to the council at this time concerning an item not listed on the agenda. The council will hear presentations on specific agenda items prior to the council addressing those items. You may speak up to 4 minutes or a time limit determined by the mayor or presiding officer. To speak during this item, you must complete the speaker's form that includes the topics of your statement. Topics of presentation should be limited to matters over which the council has authority. Holly, I don't have any speakers except for some agenda items. Do you have any others?
No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak during this time? All right, we will then move on to announcements and reports. Item number 1, Town Manager Dale's update regarding the following discussion and provide input regarding same: Pet Fest, community cleanup, and town hall construction. Stephen?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I wanted to provide some dates, and so our residents, and you can begin putting those on your calendar. Pet Fest will be held on September 17th at 9 a.m. Community Cleanup will be held on October 15th, and I think we're scheduled for 9 a.m. as well. What now? 9 to 11? Okay. And that will be at its regular location over at the east side or the west side of Byron Nelson High School, where we've held it in the past. Town hall construction, the rain kind of slowed us down, but Steel Freeman has done a great job keeping it going, even with the wet weather. We are finishing the grade beam pours. They have started on the retaining wall, and the utility contractor is out there on the water line relocation. So they continue to push forward and make very, very good progress. Within probably the next few weeks, we'll be looking at pouring concrete either on I'm not sure if they're going to do the slab first or if they're going to do the parking lot first. So, but we're working out those details, and the next few weeks you're going to start seeing some real progress being made, and then before too long you'll see items going vertical as soon as we can get that fire lane in and the slab done. It's pretty exciting. So. Overall, they're doing a great job. We have Steel's been wonderful to work with. GSBS has been right there with us along the way, and very pleased.
Thank you. Council, any questions for Stephen? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the town council and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be a separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Council, anyone wishing to remove any of the items 2 through 6? Hearing none, I then would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items 2 through 6.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items 2 through 6.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mayor Pro Tem Lamont moved, Councilmember Rowe seconded. All in favor, show your hands. All opposed, same sign. It is unanimous. We will now move on to our public hearing. It is 7:05 p.m. We have 2 items in the public hearing. I'm going to read them separately and handle them separately. Conduct the first public hearing for the proposed tax rate and for fiscal year October 1, 2016 to September 30th, 2017, and Mayor to announce the date, time, and place of the vote on the tax rate. Currently, citizens, we are going to propose a tax rate, combined tax rate of .479 per $100 valuation. The second public hearing will be on September the 13th, and the vote will be on September the 27th at 7 p.m. Anyone wishing to speak during the public hearing and related to our fiscal year 2016-2017 budget? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the second item in the public hearing, item 8. Conduct a public hearing regarding a request to amend ordinance 2002-41 P&Z, Plan Development District Number 25, in order to approve the signage plan for Breadwinners Cafe on Lot 2R2, Block B, Trophywood Business Center, located at 3000 State Highway 114, case PD-AMD-16-051. Anyone wishing to speak during this item? I believe I do have one person signed up to speak. So I have,
You went ahead
Just-
and changed it to item number 9 to give the presentation, I believe.
oh, he did?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I guess I have no one to speak in. All right. Anyone wanting to speak during the public hearing of that item? All right. We will close the public hearing at 7:07 and reconvene into regular session. Item 9, consider and take appropriate action regarding an ordinance for the request to amend ordinance 2002-41 P&Z, Plan Development Number 25, in order to approve the signage plan for Breadwinners Cafe on Lot 2R2, Block B, Trophywood Business Center, located at 3000 State Highway 114, case PD-AMD-16-051. Council, if you consider this, it will be ordinance 2016-28 P&Z. Pat, Ron, do you have anything to add to this?
The only thing that I have to add, well, 2 things actually. The ordinance that you have in front of you does provide some flexibility for staff to approve a final sign layout, because when we got the application, or when we got the proposal in from the applicant, it wasn't clear as to what they wanted to go with in terms of locations on the elevation or the type of channel lettering they wanted to do on the sign. They may have a better clarification for you tonight. And finally, the P&Z did recommend denial of this item. Therefore, it's going to require all 6 votes of the council, which constitutes a supermajority in order to approve this. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right. And I do see we do have our P&Z chairman here. Any comments, Dennis?
Thank you, Mayor. Dennis Sheridan, One Hillcrest Court Trophy Club. I just wanted to make sure that the council got several reasons why the P&Z denied the issue, the agenda item. If they did, then I don't have anything to add to that.
Go ahead and state
Unless
them.
somebody has some questions.
Go ahead and state them if you have them, please.
The roof side sign on the west elevation is too big and should not project above the roof line. The projecting sign on the south side is too big and should not be illuminated with neon. The plans should not contain options, but should be the final detail plans for the signs. And the signs were submitted at the dais, and I know several of the council people felt the same way I did. They were changed, and we received it that night. The roof signs and projecting signs are not allowed per sign ordinance and should not be approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. All right, so we do have one person who signed up to speak. Do we have a presentation? Are you going to give a presentation, Justin, or just speak about it?
More of a commentary.
All right, give me just one moment, I'll be with you. So, Ron, I saw really late today an attachment that had, was it just one new photograph or something kind of showing signs, or was it two?
What you got today was the sign, what Commissioner or Chairman Sheridan was saying was sent to the P&Z or passed out to the P&Z last Thursday, as well as newer pictures showing what the sign would look like on the current building. It's still under construction, but they put some plywood, it really just for as an example to show what it would look like in terms of scale when you look at it from the highway. So that was included as well in your packet.
I noticed there was like the first letter and the last letter on each end of the sign,
That's correct.
kind of showing you how long it went along the roof line. All right. Justin, if you'd like to come forward, identify your name, address, and you have the floor.
Justin Springfield, 2010 Churchill Downs Lane, Trophy Club, Texas 76262, Principal Old Town Development. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here today. And I really feel like this is a conversation that sort of should be had here. And I want to thank Dennis Sheridan, the chairman of the P&Z, as well as the P&Z committee. We really did have a good experience at the P&Z last week, but it became very apparent as we started digging into this that these guys are playing by a playbook they were given in 1985 when Highway 114 was little more than a dirt road. And, you know, we started this process, you know, hours, months, weeks, years ago, well, a little over a year ago. And we purposely went after Breadwinners Cafe. And we purposely targeted them in collaboration with this council because of the type of a feel, the type of the brand, the type of the business, and the type of the experience that they would bring to Trophy Club. And the sign and their brand and their logo and what they put on their building is part of that. It's an extension of their brand. And the context of that, I know we have that experience, and the P&Z didn't necessarily have that context. And in addition, you know, it's almost like having a Mac computer, like a MacBook Pro, and you're on a dial-up connection. You know, the players can only be as good as the playbook. And every single person on that council was working to try to get us approved. You know, they were doing everything they could within the context of the zoning ordinance that we had to try to get this signage approved. But in order to do that, we needed to engage in sort of like a redesign of the sign, and we don't have authority to do that. We're not the business owner. We're not Jim and Cindy Hughes. You know, what they put together was what we said we wanted when we targeted them and we went after them, and we tried to attract them to Trophy Club. So we really felt like this was a better conversation to have here. And again, I can't say enough about the P&Z Chair Sheridan. He at one point asked us, he said, "What are you guys looking for?" Because he very easily could have tabled it and just kept us there. And our project manager said, "Look, we're just looking for an up or down vote, so at least we know where we are, so at least we can continue the conversation." And I want to thank him for that. I want to thank our P&Z commission. But as you guys know, this is a business in a field that we went after for the Trophywood corridor. It fits in very well with Phase 2 and hopefully Phase 3, which again P&Z is not privy to. And so the overall context of the entire development, as well as the fact that the current zoning doesn't really account for the fact that this is a highway now. And this is sort of a valley location on a highway. And in light of that, I appreciate your time and consideration, and we'd be honored to entertain any questions of the council.
All right, council, any questions about this that you have? Anybody?
Yeah, I had
Philip?
a question for Ron, or actually for David. Would any denial by P&Z trigger that supermajority? Because the way I read it, it was just a denial.
Explain what you mean by any denial, meaning
Meaning
negative vote or not enough
No, in
votes?
other words, it was straight across the board denial. But
6-0.
would a 3-2 denial trigger a supermajority?
Yes, it's
Okay.
any vote.
So,
Yeah.
so it's any kind of denial.
You don't get extra credit for unanimous.
Right, okay.
That's what I mean.
Well, I think there was some misconception going back to PD 30 that it was a straight across the board denial that triggered a supermajority, and I saw that this week that it was actually just a denial, that any denial from P&Z is going to create this supermajority atmosphere. And then one other question, I do get the frustration of P&Z. They were told that that there were items in there that are in our packet that they were not given. That it was provided the day that the packet was sent out, so we got the information, but they did not. So I can understand the frustration. And is this typically, are they supposed to follow the submittal calendar that we have? Is that where the breakdown happened? What exactly?
Ideally, the sign package would have been approved with the site plan back in December.
Right.
Because of, this is we don't have really any standalone restaurants. And Meet You Anywhere happened kind of similar to this, where they were trying to get everything together, and they didn't have their signs figured out either until the very end. So with kind of similar to Meet You Anywhere, we had the signs finally come in toward the end of the project. And so that's why the approval was different. Normally, it would have been a package deal. So we brought it forward quicker than we normally would have, as far as in terms of the submittal schedule, because it's just the sign package didn't go through a DRC review. We took it we did the public notice, of course, and then took it to P&Z and council.
Okay. Well, I can just understand their frustration by not getting what we received until they sat down.
Sounds to me like we've got now 2 standalone restaurants out of 2 in the history of the town, and they've both had this experience. So maybe we need to be sure that maybe to expect moving forward that's kind of how a standalone is going to work relative to their sign development, and maybe we can anticipate it next time it happens.
All right, Justin, anything else you have to say?
No, sir, I just want to let you know that we've got the sign company as well as a project manager here to answer any technical questions you guys might have.
Okay, we may have some. I think we have a procedural question for staff a little bit. Greg, do you want to bring that up?
Are we amending 2015-44 or 2002-41?
The way the ordinance is written, you're amending both ordinances. Actually, the 2015 ordinance amends the 2002 ordinance, and we're amending the 2015 ordinance to add this exhibit to it, but in turn, the 2015 ordinance originally amended the 2002 ordinance, if that makes any sense.
So
So you're really amending both, but
So in stating the motion, I'm just going to mention 2015-44 as being amended, correct?
I would defer to the town attorney as to whether that's,
You said that 2015 does amend the 2002.
the 2015 is the original amending ordinance of the 2002 ordinance, which approved the site plan package. So we're amending that.
2002-41 was the original,
The original.
and then 2015-44 amended it, and we would be amending again.
You're amending the components of 2015. Is there anything in the 2002 that's not in that 2015 ordinance?
No.
You
So
can
everything's changing, so you're
You're just
amending
changing the 2015
2015-44.
Okay.
And but you're approving ordinance 2016-28.
Yes.
So I have some questions. Anybody else have some questions about the signage?
Yeah, I have questions. In that general area, what other signs have we allowed that are not permitted? I would think that the Holiday Inn signs, the what do you call them?
Monument signs.
Monument signs. They're 13 foot, I think, and those would not be allowed on the PD, correct?
Correct. The monument signs on the Holiday Inn, the wall sign on the Homewood Suites exceeds the allowance under the Code of Ordinances. Meet You Anywhere, the LED banding, and their monument sign as well exceeded the PD 13 regs, as well as the Code of Ordinances, I believe.
What about Homewood Suites monument sign?
I'm sorry, their monument sign does as well. That's correct.
I'm just talking in that general area
Right.
where we're,
Crumpton sign did not.
where
It had
we're,
to come through
putting
for a
that.
special.
and then we
I don't
just
remember
gave we
exactly
just
what it
gave an
was.
exemption to Holiday Inn on the top sign, which was I think not allowed on the PD as well. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I kind of tend to agree with Ryland that what we have in our ordinances probably is not realistic to what is happening in that district and along 114. And I think that, I know at least Garrett and I have made a conscious effort to, we don't really like signs, and we try to we voted against quite a few of the monument signs inside of town. But this is a little different because this is kind of on the outskirts of town. You're not really up against residential. And it's an actual district where we have made a conscious effort to place standalone restaurants and things of that nature. So I'm in favor, or I'm inclined to grant this variance.
Garrett, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, is this the time for just general discussion on the signs or technical questions?
Either. What are you going to do?
World's your oyster.
The world's my oyster. Everybody knows my opposition. I like things to look clean, nice, and neat, so that does not conform to a lot of my views. But I like the blade sign, even though it has neon on it. I really believe that it kind of pulls the feel of what they're trying to do into that. I think it's going to fit right into that building. It is a different looking building. I think that will make it unique. So I'm in favor of that blade sign. The logo, I think the logo's a logo. We got one on Meet You Anywhere. The only thing that I had really a concern about this was actually the size of the channel letters on the
Western.
yeah, on the western side. I'm okay in voting favorably towards it. You know, I don't know if it would be detrimental to the business or not. I think they are pretty large, but it's not going to make me vote no. But the other two signs I'm in favor of. If they came back and said we'll do them half that size, my personal belief is that it would make the building look better. That's my belief, but I don't want to impose my beliefs on how somebody should run their business. So I'm not going to vote no on it based on my belief, but just for the record, I think it would look a little bit neater if they were smaller, but I'm in favor of approving the sign package.
Anybody else with comments?
Mayor, just want to, you're trying, I think Councilmember Schaffner brought this up, and when he said you're trying to build a destination. And that's what we're trying to do, is create a destination feel, create excitement, so that people see that and go, hey, what's going on there? I want to be part of that. And that's something that we did with PD 30. If you look at there, blade signs are allowed within that because you're trying to create a district. Go look at South Lake Town Square and the way they have their signage. It's a little bit different than maybe some of the traditional signage things that we've had to look at in the past, just because we've entered a new phase in our development cycle and what we're seeking.
And can I say one more thing, Nick,
Sure,
about
go
the
ahead,
size of
Gary.
the sign? Just kind of a disclaimer, even though I've been in the restaurant development business for quite some time, remember, I'm a developer, I'm not a designer. And I will admit that time and time again, I've seen things on paper that I've not understood, and they haven't made sense to me until I've seen them up. And so more creative people than I decided that this sign would look right. And so once it's there, then that's when you say whether we made the right choice or not. But I think it's probably better that we err on the side of the people that actually have the creativity to say, look how unique this building is, because it is a unique, cool-looking building. And so this sign might make it even more so. And if we tried to steer them in one direction or another, it might make the building not fit any of their aesthetics. So that's generally my thought process.
From my viewpoint, I too like the blade sign, or whatever that's called. I think that adds some real character to the building. It surely isn't anything that should be offensive to anybody close to it. And although I think it's somewhat not going to be as noticed as much based on the side that it's on, so maybe there's a better location. I had two concerns just as I look at signage general. One is I think the sign on the west side is huge. When I drove by today and saw where the first letter and the last letter ended, I went, oh gosh, that's really big. And I understand you're trying to gain some readability from 114, but it is really big.
Huge.
And my preference would be that it seems like it would fit better just in a design and look if it actually moved down the roof a little bit and didn't go above the roof. That was just my feeling, but of course, what I have now is plywood, and you can't really tell what it's going to look like. Is that a backlit sign? How is that lit is what I couldn't figure out. The breadwinner channel letters that are all lit independently, or?
Yes, sir. Luke Albritton with Chandler Signs. Correct. The breadwinners is a face lit sign. So each one of those individual letters are face lit with LED technology.
And are they together in one side, or each letter is standalone by itself?
So each letter has its own set of LEDs, if you will. If you take the face off, they each have a pattern of LEDs within them. The way that these are mounted, regardless of where they're actually put on the roof, the reason for that back paneling is, given that that's a mansard roof, mounting the letters flush to the roof would obviously have them tilted up. So you have to have some kind of system to make them vertical.
I totally understand that.
Sure.
I wouldn't want them flush.
Right.
But they, based on the way that I see it, and of course this is just pictures that you've put together.
Sure.
They're above that roof line.
Right.
By 30% maybe, I don't know.
Right.
And that just seemed to me to look not as good as I thought it could.
Right, understand, yeah.
And then the other thing I had about the logo sign, it was back again to the fact that it was higher than the roof line. It just seemed like it would appear better if it just kind of looked like it fit into that height of the roof. That's me personally
Sure,
about it.
sure.
I don't have any more questions. Anybody else? Greg and then Ryland.
I got Ryland first.
Ryland?
Greg wants to make a motion. I'll say that everybody complains about how everything in the suburbs looks the same, and everything in the suburbs is boring, and everything in the suburbs is cookie cutter, and then we bust our butts for 2 years to get some people that have a location on McKinney Avenue in Dallas to come and build a standalone restaurant and trophy club, which is akin to a unicorn, and we complain because their sign isn't cookie cutter enough. I'm happy that our P&Z did their job and compared the application relative to the ordinances. That's their role in this process, and what you'll see from them, in my experience, is if somebody's got one little nit here or there that's not in keeping with the ordinance, they're prone to approve. But if they've got something that's out of the box, they kind of maybe feel like it's not their place to approve it, and it is our place to approve it, and I support approving it for that reason. I happen to like the look being above the roof line, by the way, guys. I think that's I like the fact that you're being bold, but what I like doesn't matter. It's none of my business, really. I think that we've been pretty clear as a town in terms of what the direction is for that district, and in keeping with the aesthetics of the design of the building. I think you guys should do what you all think is best. So I support it.
Greg? Or did anybody else have anything? Greg, were you going to make a motion?
Yeah, I support it too, but I'll make a motion now.
Oh,
David,
wait,
pay
before
attention.
you make a motion, I want to argue.
You can still talk. You can still talk after the motion.
Okay,
but
go ahead then.
Greg, you going to say something?
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to approve an amendment to ordinance 2015-44 P&Z, Plan Development District Number 25, for the signage plan for Breadwinners Cafe on Lot 2R2, Block B, Trophy Wood Business Center, located at 3000 State Highway 114, case PD-AMD-16-051, and approving ordinance 2016-28 P&Z as presented at the dais.
Have a second?
Second.
All right. Councilmember Reed seconds. Mayor Pro Tem Lamont moved. Councilmember Reed, you said you wanted to say something.
I just want to disagree with Ryland for a second, if that's okay.
I don't know.
Your prerogative.
I think a lot of people move to the suburbs so they can't have cookie cutter. I know we're a little different, but I think that's some people's prerogative. That's my point.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I will agree that we do not, I don't think it's our place to tell them what their signs are supposed to look like. Again, I'm not artistic. They may look cartoonish, but that might be the coolest thing that ever happened at Trophy Club. I mean, it's not our place to sit up here and decide. So that was it.
All right. Anybody else? Tim, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, I'll say, I mean, I can see where the designers are going. If you look at the finished product, there's a second story behind it, so it's a raised sign to give it more depth. I understand P&Z, had to kick it up to us, but I mean, we should definitely be approving this. We've been dying to get these restaurants here, and we want to give them every chance to succeed. And having a big sign means people see it earlier, they take the exit as opposed to seeing it later, and they turn around and they eat there. So I'm all for it.
All right. Any other discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to say anything? All right. Just remind the council that it require a 6-0 vote in order to overturn the denial of P&Z. All those in favor of approving ordinance 2016-28 P&Z, show your hands. All opposed, same sign. It is 6-0. It is unanimous. No clapping in the audience, please.
I like the slow clap. It didn't build though, so.
It didn't do much, did it?
On the island.
So we're excited about seeing it happen. It's exciting to kind of see day by day changes that happen out there. I can disagree with Ryland, and it's okay. I can still vote for it. So,
Right.
my prerogative to. to
Can I say one other
to
thing?
question it. Yes, sir, you may talk, Mr.
I want to thank the Old Town Development guys. Being in, and Tim can attest to this, being in the restaurant business, to do what they did is akin to move mountains. And I know a lot of people that are in the restaurant business don't understand that, but what they did is unprecedented. For Trophy Club to get a brand like this and to be even talking to some of the other brands they are is hats off to them. It's something that I wouldn't be able to do. So thank you guys for what y'all have done for the community, and hats off to you. Done a good job.
Before we move on, I actually wanted to bring up the fact that I would have almost preferred that there was a pole sign out further to be more visible, which may have been just as hard to get past, but you got this passed with everything deal. But I'm concerned as the across the street develops, will it be as visible far back as something that was up more towards the highway? So that was just my personal thing. Careful there.
It'll be destination.
Some people have a affinity for poles.
Yeah. Just want to let you know that, so because the OTD guys are here, is that for several months now I've been working with South Lake, Westlake, and TxDOT to see if they couldn't engineer a turnaround underneath the bridge so that people didn't have to go through the lights. So if you're eastbound, you exit for Kirkwood, you have a turnaround that sends you right back on the service road to get to the restaurant. So as opposed to going through the lights. Don't know if that'll happen, but at least they're looking at how it could be engineered. The second step will be funding. So who pays for it will be the bigger issue when we get down to it, if we get it approved. All right, we will move on to item 10. Consider and take appropriate action regarding approval of an amendment for comprehensive land use plan update services for the town of Trophy Club and authorizing the town manager, his designee, to execute all necessary documents. We do have representatives from Fries and Nichols here tonight. They do have a presentation for us. Stephen, did you want to say anything before Wendy Chabet makes the presentation?
Just very briefly, Mayor and Council, I'm proud to present Fries and Nichols as our recommended firm for the comprehensive land use plan. This is something that we've talked about for a couple of years now, and the need to update our plan, which was last changed in 1997. We followed it, and now we're looking for the next 20 and 30 years. When you have the development that's going to happen across the street with Westlake, we want to control our own destiny. It's much like your culture. Either you just dictate what your culture is, or somebody will do it for you. And so we need to decide some things about what we want to look like in the next 20 or 30 years, or it's going to happen. Redevelopment obviously will be a big player for us because we are built out. And a lot of our codes that will need to be updated need to have a plan in place to make sure that our codes and zoning are appropriate for that redevelopment to occur. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Wendy.
Okay. Mayor and Council, thank you very much for having us tonight. We are very excited to have to made it to here tonight, to have been shortlisted and be able to present to staff. I wanted to go through just a little bit very quickly about us, a little bit about our scope and schedule of what you see before you in the contract. I am a VP with Fries and Nichols, but I also had our urban planning and design group. I think Fries and Nichols has worked for you all before. We've done many drainage things and different projects for you over the years. So I'm trying to figure out how to make this. There we go. So I think you probably know about our firm. We've got about 560 people within Fries and Nichols offices all over Texas, but Fort Worth is our home base, so we know this area very well. But what you see on your screen is our planning group. We have 20 people within our urban planning and design group, which is actually a fairly large group of just planners. And so we work a lot with our transportation engineers, our different utility engineers, our parks planners, our urban designers, landscape, they're all right there within our group. So we have a very exciting group and team that is going to be working on this. In addition to Fries and Nichols, we also have Catalyst Commercial that is going to be on our team. Catalyst does economic development. That's the one service that we do not offer at Freese and Nichols. So we often work with economic developers, particularly on the areas where you were just talking about, in your mixed use areas, and where you're bringing in different product to look at what the economy is like, what are the best economic development strategies to help bring that in. So they'll be working very closely with those that you already have under contract to do those types of projects. I will serve as the principal in charge. I'll also have Cody Richardson back here behind me that will answer any questions. He will be our project manager. He will be serving from day to day. You will see the two of us at most of the meetings, as well as the support staff below. We've got someone that will work on our parks, our infrastructure, the pedestrian mobility, and then, of course, Jason Claunch with Catalyst Commercial. Freese and Nichols, if you don't know, we were here when you were first formed, actually in 1985. Some of our earlier folks that were with Freese and Nichols actually did your original plan. So we've got a long history with you. In fact, the first staff meeting that we had with Stephen, we brought a lot of your old documents that I don't even know that you had. So we've got a lot of good information that we that we've had in the past, and so we've got a good amount of that within our archives. And then again, some of the projects that we've done since then. I want to just quickly go through what we call Comp Planning 101. It's just a very basic overview of what comprehensive planning is. If you have not been involved in a process in the city before, we feel like, as number one, it is incredibly important to be able to take the ideas and the vision of what you want to achieve, to put those into a plan, and to come up with actions. And this is what will help guide you as council and decision makers, and as you're putting forth your capital improvements plan and so on. That's what helps us to establish those ideas. We call it putting the pieces of the puzzle together, all the different things that you do, from fire, police, parks, utility services, putting all those things together in one comprehensive document. It also, and very important, is to give your citizens a purpose to come together. Oftentimes we don't want to see a lot of citizens here because we don't want to see them against what we're doing. This is a really, really good opportunity to bring citizens together, to ask them, what do they see? What do they see as in their future? What's important to them? What are the things that they value for the town? What can they bring forward, and good ideas? It also helps us create a vision, and some of that is graphic, and some of that is in word context. And then it also provides our blueprint. Your last blueprint has served you well. I mean, look at where you are today. It has served you very well. I definitely think, though, it is time to update that. It is time to not only update your plan, but probably a follow-on to that would be your ordinances. So let me just tell you a little bit about what a comp plan is. We call it comp plan, but of course it's the comprehensive plan. It is a foundation document that will guide for 10 to 20 years. We recommend cities update it every 5 years, particularly those that are growing quickly. That's not, you haven't had that growth that some cities has, but it's still very much important, especially after 10, but certainly after 20 years, to be taking a look at this document. It is not a zoning ordinance. That is a follow-on thing. The comprehensive plan helps to guide your zoning ordinance and help guide your decisions, but it's not an actual zoning ordinance. But it should be the basis of your comprehensive plan. So those things fall out of what you see as the vision for the plan. We know that things will change, so it is very important to maximize your tax dollars, to think about your infrastructure and the things that you are doing and redeveloping. It is important for us to look at that. We know our region is changing. You know that. You've seen tremendous growth. This is COG's projections. We've seen tremendous growth around our region, and even a little bit closer to home. It's changing right across the street from you. So you know that. Stephen mentioned that earlier, how important that is to be able to take a look at what your town is doing in context with what's going on around you. So every decision should be based on your comprehensive plan, and it should be created by you. So you will see in this, we will do a lot of effort to get your opinions, to involve your citizens, and to get their feedback. So I want to just move quickly through the scope and hit a few of the high points of what we'll be covering and what you see in the contract before you. First of all, the contract does cover the entire town and the city limits, and we will look certainly at the cities around you and their adjacency and how that plays in. Certainly the lake and the other features that are going on, we'll be looking at all of that, but it does cover the entire town. There are several phases to this, but really all we are looking at right now is phase 1. So that's what you see before you is just the comprehensive plan. A likely follow-on action, if you so choose, would be a zoning or ordinance update, and then even a parks and open space plan. Sometimes those are all put together, but right now we are just looking at phase 1 of the plan. We have got 9 tasks in the contract. One will be demographics. The second will be looking at your overall vision and goals. And then tasks 3 through 6 here is really the meat of the plan. It will establish your future land use, also your transportation, update your thoroughfare plan, a neighborhood assessment and sustainability, and then the economic and redevelopment opportunities that I mentioned. All of that will fit together in an implementation table at the end of the document. So the final report will be 7 chapters of each of those. And then the plan documentation, of course, is the report itself. And then task number 9 is the community involvement. And I'll spend a little bit more time on that here in just a second. We anticipate a 12-month schedule. You'll see where each of these red lines are is where we plan to have meetings. So you'll see we kick this off and getting feedback from you. And of course, we'll end it here in front of council. We'll have several steps throughout that to be able to give input. And the way that the schedule is set up, we'll do a lot here in the next month or two. And then really we'll almost not necessarily disappear, but towards the end of the fall and into the holiday months, we'll be doing a lot of work. And then we'll come back through a series of meetings to involve you again. So the entire planning process, we will be looking at community engagement, and that's why I want to spend a minute on task 9. We do recommend a comprehensive plan advisory committee, what we call a CPAC. That is somebody that can help guide us throughout the process, and I think this is a really important role for you all. Every city does something different related to their CPAC, whether you each appoint somebody. We've had large committees, we've had very small committees. We recommend the 10 to 12 size is what we would recommend. But again, we will leave that to you to help us decide who and how we want to form that committee, and we can certainly give you suggestions on that. But that's really important because we'll be coming to them for a couple of meetings throughout the process and getting their advice. I mean, they know this town very well, and so we want to certainly get their input and guidance throughout. So the meetings that we have, we'll kick it off with a meeting with town staff. We like to do a drive-through. Certainly our CPAC, if it is developed by then we'll be happy to include them in that. We will have 3 CPAC meetings. We will have 2 public meetings, and then we've allowed for 3 stakeholder interviews. Those haven't necessarily been determined yet, but that's where, again, you could help us decide who that ought to be, whether we ought to meet with developers, whether that's a workshop with certain members of the council, if you've got certain neighborhood groups or whoever. You can tell us who we feel like we need to interview throughout that. And then, of course, we've got the adoption meetings. We will also have an online survey. We will link this to your city's website or town's website. This is something that you could help us with a lot, because the more input that we get off of this survey, the better. And so this is something that you all can help us by spreading the word and getting people to help fill that out. We'll ask some valuable questions that will be very helpful for us through the process. So that's a quick run through of our scope. I'd call Cody up here. We'd be happy to answer any questions or go into any more detail if you wish.
All right. Council, any questions? I have several. Wendy, this may be news to you, but and it may be the news to some citizens, but last week we received our town manager's resignation that he's going into the private sector.
I saw
And
that.
so, given your implementation plan, it's my feel that we would be better off not starting till we had a new town manager in place. So if we delayed the start 30, 60, 90 days, does that affect any of this? Price is good for that long? How does that affect any of the aspects of this agreement?
If we're talking just a couple of months, I think we'll be fine. If not, the only adjustment that we might need to make is just our general year adjustment. But I think a couple of months from now, we would still honor what you have in front of you to be able to do that.
All right. And then the second aspect that I have that concerns me is I'm eager to see what certain things look like as we update our plan. I'm concerned that we don't have good copies of what our comp plan has done over the years. And if y'all have been involved all that time, hopefully you have better copies than what we have of some of those things. But a couple of things in your document. One was you tied under desired outcomes. You mentioned the existing 5 pillars of Trophy Club Vision 2030. This council has been not necessarily positive about those 5 pillars in that aspect, yet I don't know that we necessarily changed them other than we changed what our principles were and what our objectives were. Looked like as I read the plan, you would start with maybe re-looking at that aspect. So council, I just want to bring that to your attention. If you had concerns about that, this is saying they're trying to meet that objective. And does that delay us? Maybe that's part of what you would do is reevaluate that Vision 2030, at least in some aspect, to bring it more up to date with what the council's thinking about. So council, any reaction to that? Or
I would support whatever action we need to take as a body to expunge that thing. Like, I'm just not interested in it. It's fluff as far as I'm concerned.
I didn't want to say that, but
so I don't want to give a false impression because it's still out there that a third party looks at it and goes, "Oh, this is a real thing that people care about," because I don't think it is.
Agreed. So the feel I had that feel for council. I just wasn't going to outright say it that way. But I'm glad somebody spoke up. I was trying to lead you to actually say something.
That's my job.
Is again, that's something that. Did I interpret what your exhibits were, that you were going to relook at that somewhat?
Typically, what we would do is we would take out what council has created as a base, and I think this was how this was written. However, you're bringing up a really good point. We don't want to establish a basis on something that we're not all bought, we haven't all bought into and we believe in. So what we have often done, and we can certainly do for you, whether we facilitate a workshop maybe prior to, maybe one more additional meeting where it's a vision workshop with council to help determine that, or whether that is something that you do internally and then you can help establish that. We can certainly do that as a part of the process to understand what is our vision and what are we starting, and oftentimes we're starting from scratch. If you don't have that, and we need to kind of back up and maybe spend a little bit more time developing that first. I did unfortunately see on your agenda where your city manager is leaving, retiring,
Well, that would be
leaving,
great,
doing
wouldn't it?
awesome. Yeah, I know, you're way too young for that. But so I understand. I certainly understand, that you want to wait, you want to bring somebody in. Also, it may give us a little bit of time to take a look at that, and that may be something that we can do prior to the start of this, or maybe we add in a workshop at the beginning with council to help establish what that is. I think that's a very good point.
All right. And so if we were adding some workshops to deal with that beginning point or measurement point, is that a change the price?
It would change it to the extent, yes, if we were to add a meeting or workshop. I mean, I think it depends on what exactly that looks like.
All right.
We're pretty, I mean, we're close and we're pretty easy to come in, but yeah, if we needed to come in and facilitate 1 hour, or is it a half day, is it an all-day work session, we may need to work with that a little bit.
One thing I may bring up about Vision 2030 is that there's a, those pillars are there, and there's a lot of, if you want to call it, fluff underneath it. But I don't think anybody would disagree that one of our priorities is to be a premier residential community. That's what we do. Economic development is really important to us, and amenities and having amenities for a premier residential community are really important. Excellence in government is really important to us, and relationships with our other surrounding cities and governmental agencies is also very important. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff listed underneath there that maybe we should update or maybe we should examine, but I would still say, as it relates to the comp plan, being and maintaining a premier residential community is really important to us. And then economic development is also really important to us, and amenities is really important to us. And I think as we evaluate that through the comp plan, I think we can help further define exactly what that means, and then that helps set the goals for what we want to accomplish, not just today, but into the future.
You know, it's
Philip?
It's funny that I went back in the minutes and I found a councilman in 1986, who said that he said he pointed out the majority of the material is the reprinting of the goals and objectives, and felt that 23,000 committed to freeze and nickels to develop the comprehensive plan seemed excessive. So here I am in 2016, and same thing. We're seeing these goals and objectives that Vision 2030 did, and 150,000 seems real excessive to me. And the problem that I have with the comprehensive plan, and I understand what they're trying to accomplish, but I doubt that there's very many of us on this dais who have actually read the 1997 version of it, you know. So, and then when you start looking at it, I think Greg has quite a few listed of things that councils, obviously in the past, P&Zs in the past, who did not read that 97 plan either because they didn't follow it. There's things that we've approved and things that we've done that did not come close to following that 97 comprehensive plan. Maybe they should have been updating that plan and changing it with the vision, but my fear is to create a document that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when we're term limited out, a future council is going to say, what were they thinking in 2016? We're not doing that. We're doing this. And so we spent $150,000 for a piece of paper that future councils aren't going to go by.
You made me think of something, and it's kind of.
You finished?
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Okay, Rob.
I've been thinking about this, and all the way along since Stephen first brought this idea to us, I've seen it as something that we could take on as an ambitious project to do what you just said, which is to produce something that actually is reasonably future-proof and isn't just, we want to be good and we want there to be rainbows and puppies and whatever. So that's why I have encouraged this process to get us to this point today, knowing that it's not a critical thing that not having it doesn't prevent us from doing anything in the town or operating anything critical. Where I'm going to run into an issue here is Stephen's been here since 2007. All of us have lived here for quite a while. Tim is the youngest person. You moved here, what, in 2010? 2009? So so Stephen's got a wealth of knowledge, having worked at the city all this time, and if he's not here, I don't think it's fair to someone else to throw them into this process when they're new. And we don't know what that person's strengths and weaknesses are yet. I've worked with Stephen long enough. I know where his head's at all the time. This is a lot of money for me to commit for something that was, even with Stephen at the helm, was a pretty blank slate. Was something that we were going to really kind of stretch our legs on it and try to do some things with. And part of the uniqueness, I feel, is that 98% of this for us is going to be about redevelopment, not development. And how does that change the way we do it? And I think that warrants a whole nother discussion. And Stephen is also extremely experienced in economic development. He has a lot of good ideas. His replacement might have a whole slew of strengths, and EDC just isn't one of them. And so we do something else to step up our EDC knowledge. You know what I mean? I have no idea what the next 6 months is going to bring me. So this kind of reminds me of some of, in my business, sometimes we have a lead that progresses and progresses and progresses, and things are going great, and the executive sponsor changes companies, and it's no longer a fit. And so while I'm fascinated by the subject matter, I'm interested in eventually tackling it. I can't, with good conscience, commit the amount of money that we're talking about for the next 2 years with somebody who's spending their first 2 years in this town that I've been here for 12 years. I can't do it.
Can I? Oh.
All right. You want to respond, Wendy, and then I'm going to go
Yeah,
through it.
if you don't mind, I'd like to respond to things, and I love hearing everybody's feedback. Couple of thoughts. I have a lot running on. Number one, I would say we do a lot of comprehensive plans, and we work through a lot of different situations where have a new planning director, have a new mayor, council, have a new city manager. I might actually say that probably actually now might be a really good time to do that. Even though I know he's got a lot of knowledge. We've sat and talked, and I've heard a lot from him, and understand he's still close and we can talk to him. But I would almost say it's probably a really good time, because here's the thing, is somebody coming in new is going to want to know, okay, what is the direction of this city? What is my job here to do? What do the citizens want? What's the vision of this town? What am I going to be doing? I mean, day one, they're going to want to know what's my order of business of things that are important. And so we can do that with or without a city manager, because it should be based on your citizens. Your city manager is the one that is directing what your citizens and what you all want. So I would say to that it actually could be a really good time to do that. It's still a year-long process, and hopefully you'll have that position filled in that time, and we can certainly bring them in. And I don't mind waiting. I would just say it may be a really good time for that. And I think just to speak to some of the other comments, the folks that did the initial plan are not with us anymore. They've gone on. One's at the city of Benbrook. One is with city of Weatherford. I mean, those were some of the folks that were here back then when they were there. They're not here anymore. But I mean, I was surprised when I first saw, oh, that's our name on those plans. I'm sorry if you don't have it or haven't been following it or whatever. But we do. I will tell you, I take really a lot of pride in doing plans that are very implementation focused. I do not want to provide you fluff. I do not. We don't want to do that. It does us no good. If you look at all of our plans today, City of Louisville, their entire CIP and every single thing they have done has been based off their comprehensive plan. Longview's done the same. I mean, we've got some plans. I can name a whole bunch where everything is based off of that. And so it ought to be guiding you and helping you. And so I want to make sure that we're producing something that is helping you do that. And to the other point of, I don't know, to be honest, that a comprehensive plan, even a future land use plan, for the last couple of decades of your existence has been incredibly important, because most of it was a planned community. And so you kind of knew where you were going. I think the next 20 years looks a little bit different for you. You're very close to build out. And so the redevelopment aspects of the city is a little bit different going forward. And so that's why I would think I think it is going to become more important to you because you're going to have more probably sticking points coming before you than what you might have had in the last couple of decades.
All right, Greg, you have questions?
Yes, you made a statement. Current comp plan has served us well, and personally, I disagree with that. I just read it over the weekend.
Okay. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry.
The prior council either never read it or didn't care about it. There are several things in here. Throughout this document, it says, multifamily developments are not included or permitted. Although high-density land use exists currently within the town of Trophy Club, the plan does not propose new areas of high-density uses. Totally ignored that. Just for us, too, it plans a 7,000 to 10,000 town hall and public services building, but we blew that. And the prior council.
We should have used that when we were arguing about how big to make the building.
The
It
prior
saved us
council,
millions.
they had 43,000 square feet. My point is, no, serious, that, I don't know, is it a crystal ball? Do you want to make it more generic? But this plan, I don't know, nobody read it or nobody adhered to it, and do we just, I hate to say it, did we just waste money on doing it back
Well,
then?
if you're talking about the 1997 plan, I'm not, Freese did not do that plan. I think that was done, I'm not sure the extent of the public process in which that happened. I will say that your comprehensive plan is a legal document in which foundational principles of your community and how you develop and redevelop are directly attributable to this plan. You want to follow it. There are development issues that come forward in terms of how you want something or not want something. If councils choose to ignore it, they can do that, but this is a community guide. And as we go into a redevelopment phase, you can drive through town and see the older homes and they are being gutted or added onto. I saw one the other day that the only thing that existed was they still had the west wall and the chimney, but everything else was brand new. We're not really prepared for what's going to happen. And with Schwab announcing across the street, you're talking right now, Westlake has 25 million square feet of entitled commercial space across the street from us. That's Addison. And my point is that we need to be really prepared for what we do and how we do it, because you're going to have an impact. And I think us having a say into what we do and making sure our citizens are involved in that and have a say is really important. The timing of it, I think, can be debatable.
All right, so Garrett wants to say a few words. I do, and then Tim, did you? Okay.
Just some general thoughts.
Wendy, if you want to sit down,
Okay.
you're welcome to sit down. If they ask you a question, you can get up. Just keep you from standing there.
General thoughts. Redevelopment, for the vast majority of the redevelopment in town for the next 20 years is going to be residential. There's not a lot of redevelopment in commercial. There's not a lot of commercial, period. I think the town would be better served, or we would be better served as a council to appoint a committee with people made up of people like Dennis Sheridan that understand planning, understand development, that have lived in our community for, Dennis, how long have you been in the community? 20-something years. You know, we've got some people that understand and know the history of Trophy Club, that have this type of expertise. I'd love to get a committee of those people together, see if they'd be willing to volunteer and present us something, and save $150,000 and have it in the hands of Trophy Club citizens, rather than have it done by an outsourced firm that's going to then tell us what to do. I don't think it's pressing. I understand there's some home redevelopment going on. I'm not in favor of spending this type of money. I would be in more favor of having a group of people or a panel of people talk to us about what a comprehensive plan could look like, and maybe we just take a bite of the apple. You know, take a bite one at a time, or whatever.
The elephant.
Thank you. It's an elephant, not an apple. I can eat an apple. One bite at a time, and look at the residential aspect of it and see how we do it. That's just an idea I throw out there, but I don't support spending $150,000 on this.
As I looked at the exhibit, under Task 9 is community engagement, and here's a kickoff meeting, 3 comprehensive plan advisory committee meetings, 2 public meetings, up to 3 stakeholder meetings, 2 plan adoption meetings. Lots of meetings there, and so my advice if we were going to move forward with this, I would advise that we go back and fine tune it before we actually sign some kind of agreement, because I wasn't comfortable with the definitions here, and I don't want to start out by redefining what was in the plan. So, Garrett, I appreciate your comments. We do have some skilled people here that might very well be part of an advisory committee that could really help something. And we might benefit from a company leading us a little bit through that process, that we didn't have a contract for a final plan, but we at least had something to help us kickstart and get going. Had they followed the comprehensive plan, Greg, they would have had rights to deny multi-use. And in
They had
fact,
an out.
multi-living.
They had an out.
Because it was there, and what Stephen is saying, if you have a comp plan, you have something to compare to and say, no, I'm not going to rezone this because my comp plan says not doing that. One of the things I have a concern about is we have PD 30 that's a planned development area. It's a zoning district that's a planned development. What they can do and not do is in that document. Yep. And so no matter what we might see as an advisory committee that says they'd like to do with PD 30, the reality is we can't control what's already in that planned development. It took us a long time just to refine it to try to improve it. I do say that we have some areas of concern. We had forecasted, based on our residential growth, what was traffic going to be like and how are we going to manage traffic. Now we have a real life situation. It's not the theory of traffic, it is the reality of traffic, with less than 200 homes less to close. And I don't think we really looked at home development and traffic outside of PD, outside of the Highlands of Trophy Club development.
But that's another aspect of the plan that they didn't follow.
And so I have lots of questions here, and we've been moving forward on this, even though I've expressed things like, tell me a little bit more about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it and how it's going to help me. And so I too wouldn't have voted to approve $155,000 tonight without a better understanding and a better exhibits in a document. But I do see some value, not so much the concern about redevelopment, because even though they're tearing down a house and building, it is a lot, and there are setbacks in most cases that we'll have to deal with. But somebody could come in and buy 20 lots, and there are people that have expressed an interest in the townhomes. There are some people that have expressed interest in the quorum apartments. And surely there's are some development areas, and what's left from that is in fact the well sites, which, what would you do with those well sites? So Wendy, we're a real unique town now in the sense that we're less than 200 residential lots left from build out, most of which, all of those are platted. Over half of those, their permits pulled, I think, somewhere around that. And so it's already moving. It's just a matter of how fast they build homes. We have development that you heard tonight about restaurants down at a particular location, Trophy Wood area. And there's some more development that's going to happen down there. So what does the comp plan do for us? How is it going to help me control that or understand that or give me a roadmap? And I'm still lacking in an understanding of where do I find the value of that, other than we probably do need help trying to get some of these things done. So those are my comments. And then, Tim, I think you had some comments, and I don't know if
Yeah,
anybody else
actually,
wants to
Garrett said just about what I was going to say. I think we need to be focused on, home residential renovations. I think that's our big issue coming up the next 5 years. I don't think it's really pressing because the home values are accelerating so fast that nobody's going to come in and knock down a house and put down a crappy home. I mean, they're going to build something that is for this town. But I would think that any comp plan should be just as looking at residential redevelopment. And, I guess I didn't realize that this comp plan wasn't followed by former councils, so that doesn't bode well for me wanting to vote for anything that I know future councils just aren't going to go along with. So it might be an exercise in futility. So.
All right, anybody else? Ryland?
Yeah, I would just to what Tim said, I think you make a good point. And part of the reason that and we can give various parties hell for not following this or that. And so in some cases, it's because we were here and we didn't agree with it at the time. In other cases, it may date back to we don't even know the circumstances. In any case, the point is, and this is kind of always one of my points that I make when we talk about development and economics in general, is that a lot of things happen organically, and there's nothing we can do, no matter how smart we think we are, to try and lay everything out just perfectly. But there are some directed, focused places that we can look at. And I think the immediate need, again, given that we're going to have a leadership change and we're going to have someone else completely learning the town and learning the history, and it's a circuitous history, guys. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can go back and look, and why did this end up this way, and why did that end up that way? And there's a lot of backstory, and it takes a lot of time to digest it all. I think the priority for us probably should be examining our current general residential zoning and making sure we're not exposed to a redevelopment problem that we wouldn't like. I mean, to me, that would be the first step. And if that leads us towards, oh, geez, we need to beef up a comprehensive land use plan, because that's what this means. I don't know that unless we shouldn't be worrying about that until we get to the point where we feel that land uses changing is going to be the next phase. I don't think that we're quite there yet. Obviously, we want to be ahead of it, but now's not the right time for me, I don't think.
All right, anybody else? Yes, please come forward, Dennis.
Without intruding, sir, the updating the comprehensive land plan is mentioned in the charter. So there is a requirement to do that. 2, a land plan is just a plan. It can be changed, doesn't have to be followed. I know many people did not follow it. We can't criticize them for the decisions they made at that time if they didn't follow it. We're already zoned out. We may not be built out. So may I make a suggestion that at least update your comprehensive plan to what you're at today. PD down there at Trophywood is not changing. It's already there. PD 30 is already there. The well sites are already zoned. So that's just a comment that we could easily update our comprehensive plan by just saying here, this is where we're at today. Then, of course, we do need to go ahead because things like creating a loop road or at least having it on the plan to do the loop road is important. And from my point of view, following through with the redevelopment and what Stephen said and several of y'all said, and to the second part of our zoning ordinances that are going to protect us on how the drill sites are developed or any of the redevelopment occurs in our existing neighborhoods. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate you bringing up the fact of the loop road, and I can tell you that we've worked hard to keep that road on the Metropolitan Planning Organization's map of things that are needed for roads. If it's not there, there's no way it's ever going to happen with the core. So it's got to be part of that. It's there in the plan. I'm with you. Bringing a document forward that at least represents currently where we are, there's some value in, Dennis. I appreciate you expressing that, given the fact that we can't even find all the history of what happened to our plans, and even references in the minutes of changing page, whatever it was, 100 and something that didn't even exist in the plan. We're going, well, what did it change if it's not in the plan now? So we don't even know some of that history, and I think we're ill-prepared to do some of that, although I do support trying to get better than where we are today. So, Greg, you got a comment?
Yeah, Dennis, just so we clarify what's in the charter, it says, "The council shall establish and adopt by ordinance a procedure for periodic review and/or revision of the comprehensive master plan." What's periodic, 25 years, 35 years? I'm 73 years old, 50 years sounds pretty good to me.
Incoming message.
Okay, any other discussion? Anybody, any other comments?
Yeah, I'll echo your comment. It is so frustrating we've had 2 amendments to this comprehensive plan, amendments, not brand new plans, amendments, and we can't even find the original plan to see what was amended on that plan. So it's very frustrating. And, you know, you had to give them a little leeway because they were newborn babies, basically. I mean, you're talking 3 years old when they did the first plan, but it's still frustrating.
Council, how would you feel about directing staff to kind of rework the proposal to updating our plan and trying to focus more on where we are as opposed to where we might go? So I don't know, that's just an idea. Garrett?
I don't think that's a bad idea, Nick, but I really think, with all due respect, with what we've learned about Stephen leaving and the new replacement, I think it's a conversation that's better had 6 months from now.
That's probably true.
It's, we're gonna have a lot on our plates for now to the end of the year, and I think this is better something we might address at the first of next year when we have new management in place.
All right.
Just my thought.
And I don't disagree with that either, and with delaying it, but I think that we do need to bring the comprehensive plan to where we're at. I think that the charter actually dictates it, and no council has followed that since the charter was established. And so I think it should be something that we prioritize to at least do what the charter says.
So we'll be the first town to follow, first council to follow the charter and to buy land
There you go.
for not park use.
All right. My sense, Wendy, appreciate y'all coming tonight, that we're not going to have a motion to approve that tonight. I think that's further discussion we're going to have. I think you have a better feel for our frustration as to where we are and what we need to do. And we'll probably work a little bit more as we get a new town manager, and maybe you can give us some advice of how we move forward. Thank you for coming tonight. Yes, you can make some comments.
Just I'll offer this to you because I see the struggle. We responded to the RFP, so we expected, or assumed that what was outlined is what you wanted. We can throw this out the window if it is not what you want or what you need. We are open to being able to do whatever it is most important, and whether it is starting over with a brand new comprehensive plan. If we can't find what you've had before and it's starting over, you wouldn't be the first city that actually hasn't even had a comprehensive plan. So we can do that. We can focus on certain things that you need. We can bring it up to date. So if you need to do a visioning session beforehand to really understand what's important, I understand the need to get, a new town manager. So I just throw that out there because if we need to come and do anything in the meantime and help you prepare for that, show you examples, let you be able to pull out what you want. If we pulled together something where we're pulling in others from the community and just simply a support role to help, guide that process through, we're very open to doing whatever we need to do to best help you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank
Cody,
you.
thank you for coming. All right. Let's move forward to item 11. Consider and take appropriate action regarding a resolution approving a request by the Northwest Independent School District for a temporary use permit in order to allow portable classroom building at Beck Elementary School located 401 Parkview Drive. Case temporary use permit -16-008. Council, you did have information provided to us as the results of P&Z, and we had a letter from Tim McClure about some of the issues that were brought forward, along with a diagram for, I think, some anchoring or something like that seemed to be there. Ron, any comments that you might have?
Just, I sent out an updated resolution to the council reflecting the P&Z's actions as well as the email we received yesterday from NISD on the anchoring of the building, and be glad to answer any questions from the council.
All right. One of the things that I noticed in what you had at the dais tonight, if I can get to it, is this proposed resolution 2016-20. Even one of the, I thought, conditions recommended by P&Z in its approval was a 3-year maximum. But I didn't find anywhere in the new resolution dealing with the 3-year. Is that something that would have been on the permit, or how would we have dealt with that? Their rationale, as I understand the 3-year, was any shorter, it's going to take 2 years if they started today, and they're not going to spend money until they have a bond election. And the first bond election, we know when that could be. So the reality to approve something that was less than 3 years is probably unrealistic. Not that a building would be there for 3 years, because it would take them over a year to get to that point.
Not to permit. It doesn't take 2 years to permit.
No, but just to build it. But the temporary use permit could have a limit for how long it was good.
Okay, so I just
See
want
what
to
I'm
make
saying?
sure.
And they're
yeah.
recommended it doesn't go past 3 years.
I thought you
In
said
all-
it took 2 years to permit. I
No.
thought
Let's
just
well,
clarification.
no, but in all the conversations that have been had up to this point, the 2 years to build included waiting on the bond. This is the first. Okay, so we're all the same on that. Okay, so there's the
P&Z was the one that put the
calendars
3
are part of
years
that. Okay,
on it.
got it.
So they were saying, we're gonna limit it to 3 years. But nowhere in the document, unless I missed it,
It's item D in the document. It says the portable classroom shall be removed from the property no later than 3 years from the approval date of the resolution.
oh, okay, I see it now.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
it's section 1D.
D, okay, all right, all right. All right, so, anything else you wanted to say, Ron, about it?
No, sir.
And, P&Z, any comments, Dennis? No, sir. All right, so at this point, if district want to say anything, we do have the superintendent with us, who's now been here a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, not long.
I'm just here to answer any questions you all would have.
All right, Tim, any comments?
Likewise, just here to answer any questions.
And we do have the principal, Beck here. And he's been open for 2 days too, right? Yeah. So, it might be nice, if you updated us as to what you did and what you experienced with what you thought the anticipated growth was gonna be. We've got some emails and comments about that, but we haven't experienced it. So would you mind telling us kind of where you ended up, what you did with kids, and
Yeah, absolutely.
please come to the microphone, yes.
Good evening. It's good to be here. We went ahead with our plan, and we've done the co-teach model up to this point and put the 2 fourth grade classrooms that we discussed in the music and art classroom. And it has gone extremely well up to this point. As far as numbers goes, I think where we expected our 4th grade classroom to be is kind of where we're at. Our numbers are fluctuating, of course, in some of the grade levels due to some no-shows. However, we do have some confirmed kids who will be attending over the next week or so that are out of town, who have been sick, quite a few kids. So those numbers are fluctuating and will continue to fluctuate over the next week or so. So we won't have any real solid numbers until that point. But we're sitting at approximately, when those kids come, about 8:30, 8:35, which is close to what we projected, that 8:45 number. So, but we've moved forward with the plan that we presented to you up to this point.
All right, thank you. Anybody have questions? All right, thank you. So the other thing is probably a district question. Just to dispel rumors or get facts for us, is that Lakeview had empty classrooms. Is that true? Is that not true? We're back on this issue of rezoning whatever and moving people, and we're hearing there's a school over there that has 2 classrooms, don't have anybody in them.
Evening, Council, Mayor. Yes, that is a factual statement. There are empty classrooms at Lakeview. When we looked at the numbers that we would need to make the grade level assignments work, if you move those numbers to Lakeview, start to create similar problems within 12 months of moving them to Lakeview based on the current projections. So we're simply moving a problem to another area. The current projections show that Lakeview to be built out year after next as far as its capacity, and Beck to be within the 5% that it's in currently.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for
You're
answering
welcome.
that. All right.
Do you know how many like the Project Blizzard that you're talking about? How many are you counting from that area in that projection?
Project Blizzard is not something that would impact us in the next 2 to 3 years. So that really doesn't project out until you get into like year 5 and 6, where we start seeing some of that.
So all of this growth is coming from Trophy Club then?
Mhm.
All of Lakeview? So you think that they'll be at capacity just from within Trophy Club?
Yeah, just from within Trophy Club. Their numbers start to gain a little bit more when you get out around 2020, and they start to pick up slightly there, and then they kind of level off. We also anticipate that once that fully gets realized, that Project Blizzard as well as others, by then a boundary would be changed, because it's not going to be able to feed this side. So we'll have a new elementary school somewhere that direction that would require a boundary change.
I guess I'm just having a hard time figuring out where this growth for Lakeview is coming from, because there's nothing within your boundaries that is not existing other than PD 30, and that's sort of on the same timeline I would assume as Project Blizzard. So I just don't understand where the growth is coming from.
Could you just tell us what Project Blizzard is?
That's Schwab. That's
Yeah,
the,
that's the
yeah.
Schwab. It has some mixed use and some
Or
single family,
by-
multifamily. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's just where the projections are with our demographer. And so he tracks our students, that we geotag every student. So as those numbers come in, we get new students moving in. Some of that changes the numbers. He accounts for a certain amount of turnover when he's watching the housing market. And so we equate a certain small percentage of that. So these aren't large numbers that change Lakeview. We were talking about Lakeview right now, projected at almost 585, about 585 for this year. And it's a 650 capacity. So next year it's projected to be at 610. So you're talking about 20, 25 kid increments here that would have that
So
change.
with those, these are fourth graders, so they could have moved over to Lakeview and did fourth and fifth grade and then been on to Medlin before you would hit capacity.
These are their second, third, and fourth grade are the three impact areas as far as the 22-to-1 ratio that's
But
affecting
you
our class
increased
size.
2 classes.
Sorry?
You increased 2 classes.
We increased 3 classes based on the 22-to-1 ratio. If you remember, I said we carved one out within the building.
Right.
And then we had the portable that would accommodate the other 2. And then since then, we've put the 2 arts together, the 2 musics together, and created those 2 inside.
Right, so you increased 2 extra classes.
Yeah.
You had a classroom.
Yeah, we designated both those to 4th grade.
Right, I'm
but we
saying
grew
you
in
had
other grade
room for a
levels.
classroom, and then you took the art and the music room. So you needed 2 extra rooms.
That's correct.
Right. I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. I understand that Lakeview is, not the long-term answer, but we're not growing so fast that you could have moved people over there, and they would have been, kids would go off to Medlin before the problem would happen. I'm not saying it's going to change. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah,
That's all.
I understand.
All right, anybody else questions?
I do have, one other question. I was told that before the expansion of Beck, that there was only 1 music room and there was only 1 art room previously. Is that the case?
For the last expansion?
Yeah.
That is correct.
That's the
Yes,
case. So,
yes.
so that's,
Our standard model, we deal with 2 capacity models at elementary school right now across the district. 650, which was kind of the old thought, and then 850. We increased the capacity to Beck at 850 and added the additional classrooms. When we do that, we add an additional music and additional art so that it can
Right.
service that growth. The thing that changed from, when was the project, 11? 2 years ago. 2 years ago. In the last 2 years, the student-teacher ratio changed, which is what is impacting us now, which is the chart I showed you a
Right,
couple
Okay.
sessions ago. So that's where our impact is. The additional classrooms needed to support the 850 does not increase the capacity at 850. I want to be very clear about that. There's been some misunderstanding that because we're potentially and wanting to add classrooms to Beck, literally 2 to handle the 2 that the portables, that's all of a sudden going to increase the capacity at Beck. That is not the case.
Right, and I understand that. What I worry about is that the people moving into town are going to increase the capacity, right? Very quickly next year, Beck will be over capacity even if you had the portables.
That's correct, in which we've said we would readjust boundaries in the spring like we do every year
That's
to
not what you
accommodate
said.
that.
You said you would look at it.
Well, I said that's what we would be looking at in the spring, yes. I mean, without question, that's going to be needed. This is a tandem effort in an addition and boundary adjustments that's going to be needed. We've talked about that many times since I've been up here.
I guess, no, not once have you said that that was going to happen in the next couple of years. You said you'd look at it.
Well,
You
yeah,
said,
but my anticipation
what
and
we were told by you folks was the fact that that's a big deal and you don't really want to do it.
No, it is a big deal. It's never something we like to do. It upsets a lot of people. I moved 170 kids from one elementary to another this past year. So it's not something we like to do. We even looked at moving some boundary lines this past season in the spring for Beck. And at the time, the projections didn't warrant the 20 kids that it affected that were coming into Beck. And I said that without question, in the spring, we would be reevaluating that in an effort to shorten the timeline and shorten the impact that it has on Beck.
So what you're telling us tonight is that in the spring, y'all will look at redrawing boundaries.
All I can affirm is that we will make a recommendation to the board. It is the board's
Right, I
option to
understand
take that action. That's correct.
So you'll look at it, make a recommendation to the board.
That is correct.
Based on what's happening.
That is correct.
All right.
Because the numbers are so tight at Lakeview and at Beck, we're within a very, we're reaching capacities. Both those campuses are considered closed campuses by the district, which was an action item of the board in the spring. So part of the problem, or part of the challenge in moving is it's against board policy to transfer students to a closed campus.
I get that. I just don't understand how that's going to change in the spring. They're closed campuses now. You have more people moving in. How would you redraw because both campuses are closed? That's what I'm trying to understand.
They would open them, I guess.
It's a procedural thing. Like we talked about this, I think, 2 meetings ago. It's a board decision. They could decide tomorrow to make it open. And going back to, I think, the second meeting we determined that a flux of 19 kids broke the model. So,
right.
I mean, how insane is it that you make a decision in April that can be blown up by 19 kids, and then but we can't change it. So
what I'm saying is
everything's on the table. It's just a matter of whether or not the will exists to change the policy, and we've established no will exists to change that policy for this school year.
All right, so back.
I guess what
Tim.
I'm saying is we already hit capacity at Beck. It's not going down.
We're not at capacity at Beck. We are under capacity. It's an 850 campus. However, with the change in student-teacher ratio, we are out of space.
You're out of space, so
yes.
However you want to semantics, you're out of space. And Lakeview, you're telling us, is going to be out of space
2 years.
2 years.
Yes, sir.
So how do we redraw without adding more space to both schools?
That's the nature of a fast growth school district. Those boundaries inherently could get smaller.
And that's those are the tools that districts use, all over the state. You redraw, you analyze attendant lines every year. Some districts don't ever even have to touch their attendant lines, never look at them. We will. We have to look at them every year. We have to keep track of them every year. Reduce the size of those zones to fit the needs.
I understand it.
Yeah.
But it seems like nobody would do it this year, so I'm trying to understand what the impetus is for you to do it next year, because what you've told us is the board, not you folks, said, no, we're just closed campus. That's what we're going to do. That's all I'm saying. I don't expect you to have the answer. I'm trying to understand
the tools that we will use and understand, we have got to look at these zones. There are hot spots all over the district, not just Trophy Club. So we will be one of the most important initiatives we will have through this semester and then after Christmas is being able to absolutely be able to recommend to the board those zones that will allow us to appropriately use our facilities. And that's what we've committed you to. And in the process of doing that, also fast growth districts use those portable classrooms when they need to be able to do that. in the interim.
Philip?
Yeah, this is the fourth meeting, and I'm as frustrated right now as I was the first meeting. So I'd like to make a motion to deny the request for a portable building.
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion by Schaffner and a second by Lamont to deny the request for a temporary use permit. Any discussion about the item? Garrett?
Yeah, I have a question of clarification for staff. And I need a yes/no answer on this, I want to know if we tell the ISD that they cannot, if we're not going to change the zoning or change it, can they put these portable buildings there? I've been told that they can regardless of what we say.
There's some past history in case law was that you have two separate equal governmental bodies.
Right.
It's not a carte blanche, it's not a black and white. I'm not trying to give you a gray answer or anything, but it's, you look at health, safety reasons.
Right.
And everything else. That's what it comes to. And now there's been some AG opinions that have come out more recently to say it even extends more towards the city's power on aesthetics and things like that.
Right. Okay, so yes, they can still put them up.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Not
It could go
necessarily.
there.
You didn't get a yes.
I don't have a black and white answer on it because it hasn't been litigated.
So here's, let me finish my thought here real quick. The problem I have with this is I get emails from parents that say, don't put the trailers in. And then I got some messages, actually, while we were just sitting up here at the dais, from a mom who's she has a kid that's in the rotation. I guess there's a set rotation already for to go out to the, so they, right, so they already know who's in the rotation. So I got a message from mom, and I'm curious if any of the moms here tonight have kids actually in the rotation. You do. I'd like to hear your opinion. Because this mom says, hey, thanks for approving. We haven't approved it yet. Thanks for approving this. I'm glad they're not going to be in the music room. So we get put in a position, this is what gets frustrating to me, is this is an ISD issue, right? This is an education issue. This is not a council issue. This is not a health issue. This is not a safety issue. And we can talk, maybe it is. But we get stuck in the middle of this debate. And we have to answer. Now I've got a mom that's saying one thing, and I got two moms that are saying something else. And they're looking to me, they're saying, why aren't you making this decision? And in the end, I'm not an educator. I mean, I know where my wife falls on this. We have a house divided. I'll probably sleep on the couch for a couple nights based on my vote. But you know, I want to say that I'm doing what's best for the kids, but which kids? Which mom do you listen to? That's not what I was elected to do. Do I think the kids' safety and health is at risk out there? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we've looked at this information. You say yes. You think their health and safety is at risk. Chief, is the portable buildings, are you going to tell me the kids' health and safety is at risk? Yes or no? No. So our chief of police says no. Do you have a kid with allergies?
Probably. He's got a lot. The chances are high.
I don't know. My point is this. It's a lose-lose for this council. Whichever way we vote, we make somebody mad and we make somebody happy. And so my frustration is, once again, we're going to have to make a decision, and I got elected and I'm going to make my vote, and I know the way I'm going to vote. But I'm just trying to express my frustration with the fact that it gets a decision is being put on us that really I don't believe should be on us. We're going to have to answer for something that really shouldn't be put on us. It should be put on you guys. They should be going to the school board and talking to them. So anyway, I just wanted to voice my frustration.
Just a minute. Go ahead. Finish.
That's my frustration.
So just a minute. So I have several people that wanted to speak, including some citizens. So let me work through that. If you want to speak on this issue, would you please go fill out a speaker's form and hand it to the city secretary, and I'll let you speak. So if you've already filled one out, I'll get to you in just a minute. Okay. Did you want to say anything else, sir?
Well, before you vote, I'd like to sum up after you hear the speakers, please.
Okay, I'll give you that chance. All right, so Greg wanted to speak, and Tim, I think, wanted to speak. Okay. And then, did you, Rylan?
Yeah, but I can
Okay.
wait until
Okay.
or everyone else does.
I
Tiffany,
probably more
please.
than anybody else understand the problems we have over at Parkview, living in the lakes, being on the board for the HOA. Does the portable change the release times, and how do the kids from the portables get to the parents out front? I don't know if that was ever explained.
It wouldn't change, we still have procedures in place. Teachers would take them to their designated dismissal areas.
So they would leave the portable and just like walk around the building?
And they come to the gym.
Come through the building.
And it depends, if they have a bus, they're right there, a teacher would walk them, those who rode the bus would walk right directly to the bus, which is about 20 feet away from, 20, 30 feet maybe away from the portals. If they're going in the front of the building, they take the route through the building to the front of the building.
Just one other, maybe it's a crazy question, but I was told, just to dismiss a rumor or confirm it, it was conveyed to me that, is there a Lego room in Lakeview? I don't even know.
No, it's called a makerspace room. And if you do a lot of research on educational practices and things that are kind of trendy right now, makerspace rooms are one of them. And the room is about creating things, allowing students to work with their curiosity, invent things, or build things. So they're using one of their rooms, one of the empty rooms is being used for a makerspace room.
So it's like free time, it's not a curriculum?
I wouldn't really designate it as free time. I mean, it is structured, and there are teachers there, and they have what they call passion projects and things that they are looking at that they're interested in doing, and a lot of materials and things are in that particular room.
All right, Greg, anything else?
I'm done.
All right, Tim, and then me.
Yeah, like I said previously, I feel for you guys in new positions having to do this, and some of us having kids in the school, we know a lot of the parents, and it's a very tough situation. I do know the last 2 times we were here, we asked that you go back to the board and talk to them about putting funds in earlier, and we didn't hear anything about that tonight, so I'm gonna guess that that was out the window. And I'm gonna say, so for me, the board, 2 board members live in town. They didn't bother showing up for any of the meetings. That shows me that they don't really care about the Trophy Club residents as much as they say they do. They could have come out here, they know everything going on, they could have explained the situation, they could have swayed the board, maybe swayed the parents, the council. They could have swayed the parents. Neither of them showed up here. I'm very grateful that you did, but you just got here. I mean, you're the guy in the line of fire. So that's one thing. I'm a little upset that they didn't show up, because if it was me, I know I would show up on the other end. 2 is, like I said, we asked to see if they could kick off some sort of construction project earlier, but that's obviously not happening. The last thing we said when we talked here was it was going to be a 2-year project, and you came back with 3 years. So
Did not. That's your zoning ordinance. We asked for 2.
That would not fit in with the board's philosophy of short time.
P&Z put the 3 years in.
Thank you.
okay, yep. But when we spoke, we said everything would be done by the time 2 years was up. That's what you folks said?
Yes.
Okay. So, but it says now that we can have 3 years, so,
That's not our request.
okay. Well, I apologize for that then. So I'm gonna go back to, no board member showed up. No board member has bothered to reach out to any of us about anything. We asked specifically, can you either kick off the project, can you give us information? Nothing's been done. No, so for me, not only, they're not listening to the parents, I guess there's parents that, want it also, but we're here in a very tough spot, and nobody reached out to us and say, hey, this is the mechanism behind why we have to do this, this is the reason why. We can't put these funds in now because of these projects. None of that stuff's been done for us. So I'm just a bit saddened that that's the way it's come down, so.
And Councilman, I was gonna address, you asked me 2 specific questions, and I was gonna address that when I summed up, but I'll do it now if you need me to.
Let's let you sum at the end, if you don't mind. If that's okay. Is that all right, Tim?
Yeah, it's fine. I would have thought that, in the beginning when we asked if you had anything, you would have updated us. So maybe I spoke out of turn, and you're going to give us something on that. So I appreciate it.
All right. I probably am going to vote against the motion. The motion is to deny, and here's my rationale. It is a school district reason, and I realize that'll make some people mad at me, and that's the way it goes. Sometimes I vote, and people don't like the way I vote. I don't think it's going to get any better. I'm not sure that any of the things they are going to do in the next year will change it, and the people that will suffer will be the students and the teachers. That's who's going to suffer. And I can tell you that I'm going to sure reach out to my board members, and I don't know when their terms are up, but I see inactive board members trying to bring a resolution and help us out of this situation, and I'm not happy about that at all. And I don't want to hurt the kids. Now, I too, Garrett, like you, had that same email that said, you know, things worked out okay, I'm glad they did, but they also said, I'm glad you've been involved, and I'm glad you put pressure on the district. Because I think they felt like if there hadn't have been pressure, those things would not have happened. So I'm glad we've had the discussions and tried to work together through a solution, and I think the district has tried to work with us to a solution. I'm not a board member. I can't tell you how they work and what their rules or procedures are and what other pressures they have to deal with things, and that's not my job right now. You know, I for one would say if you had a portable, why not put music out there and leave the other kids in, as opposed to saying I'm going to put the fourth graders out there. I'm not sure that's the solution either, but until we put pressure, it was as if you hadn't really looked at those things. At least that's the way it was communicated to us. And so I'm very frustrated at that, but probably would vote against denying it, because I think all I'm going to do is hurt the kids next year. And I realize some of the ladies are shaking their head no, but that's the way I feel at this point. So I'm going to let the people that came and signed up speak. I'll see if council has anything else to say, and then Dr. Warren, I'll come back to you and let you summarize. So the first person who signed up to speak was Tiffany Nepheus. Tiffany, would you come to the podium, identify yourself with your address, and you have the floor.
Tiffany Nymphius, 214 Fresh Meadow Drive. And I realize I prepared a lot of this before I got here, and some of it's been touched on. I'm going to expand a little bit. I've subtracted some stuff, added some stuff. So bear with me. I said, this council has asked the district for their plan to remove the portable if it is approved. It is my understanding the plan has not been established. Now, granted, we've now heard the 3-year plan, but I'll get to something in a moment that goes back to that. Aside from a portable or a potential bond proposition that would allow for the addition of a few classrooms. My concern with the expansion by the bond is the amount of time it would take to begin the project. I received an email today from the school, the NISD, I subscribe to their emails, and it talked about the planning of the middle school number 6 resuming. That project, which is a rather large project, was a part of a bond that passed in 2012. So you're looking at 4 years and they're still in the planning process. So if our expansion is part of a bond that could potentially be passed in about a year from now, how much longer is our small project going? I mean, it's just gonna get pushed to the back burner, pushed to the back burner. I saw that email and it doesn't comfort me. Since speaking at the last council meeting, I've heard from several parents who were denied their request for a transfer, having cited the same overcrowding or whatever kind of reasons. I've even heard stories of people who have blatantly lied about their residence in order to be able to get into Lakeview and back. Seems like there's some house cleaning that needs to be done versus putting in a portable. Let's see. The answer I got from the district about why they would not consider granting waivers. Due to several factors, asking families to relocate their children for 1 year was not a viable option. I don't understand that. I would like to know what those factors are, because it does seem like a viable option. It seemed like a viable option that could be implemented before school got started. It's completely voluntary, so the parents are not going to complain. They realize that transportation will be their responsibility and not the district's responsibility. I fail to see these viable factors. As of this year, Lakeview's kindergarten numbers show a class size of 17. Beck shows 22. If this is indicative of other grades, we can quickly resolve the overcrowding situation for at least this year until rezoning in the spring takes place, which is what they have told us. Although we are only 2 days into the year and the kids have not had a lot of art and music classes, I have asked several kids what they thought of how it was handled, knowing that this would be discussed tonight and I would like to get some kid feedback. They loved it. They had a good time. They liked the interaction. I didn't hear a bad word from it. Now, granted, we are only 2 days in, but I didn't hear anything bad about it from the kids. I asked my own kids as well as others. I have a quick question, which hopefully somebody, maybe even Dennis, can touch on. The 3-year removal date from the signing of the resolution, is this a permit that can be resubmitted? So even if it's like a 3-year plan, they could sign it again. And at what resolution are we planning that 3-year removal from? That's a question I have. The numbers going into Lakeview versus Beck. If you take a look at the homes that are zoned into Lakeview, those are smaller homes. They're younger families, new families, older families. Not a lot of larger families. Whereas the Beck zoning has larger homes, younger families. They're all feeding into Beck. I think that's part of the reason why Beck's numbers are so large, is because they are zoned for those larger, newer homes where your younger families are moving into. I think if there's a better source of communication between the district and the community to see, like, okay, all of these homes on this side and around, they're young family homes with lots of kids, they're all coming to this one school. Maybe we can filter some of those over to the other school where you have a different home, a different type of home, which is going to bring in a different type of family. Let's see. I think that's all I've got. That's all I've got for now. Thank you.
Kristen Hildebrand. State your name for the microphone and the tape and your address, please, Kristen.
All right. My name is Kristen Hildebrand. I live at 4 Parkway Court, Trophy Club, Texas, 72626. Yeah. Okay, so good evening, Town Council members. I'm here again to express my desire for you to approve the portable building at Beck. And I truly believe that at this time, the portable building is what is in the best interest for the students at Beck. I totally agree with you, Mayor Sanders, that the students are the people who'd be hurt by not putting in the portable will be the students and the teachers. I currently have a 3rd grader and a kindergartner attending Beck, and it absolutely kills me at this time. They're experiencing art and music with 44 students in one classroom, even with a co-teacher. So my experience is special ed. And when I think about some of our students who really struggle with being successful in a typical classroom setting and what art and music and PE can bring for those students, the kind of relief that it can bring for them, a break in the day or a chance to shine, putting them in a class with 44 students, even though there are 2 teachers, it will be overcrowded and overstimulating. And I think instead of becoming a break or a place to shine, it will be just another source of stress for those students. I know that the parents of Trophy Club want what's best for their students and want the best possible educational experience for their students. And it bothers me that I live in Trophy Club, Texas, and my student will be attending an art or a music class and something that I would expect to see in maybe Fort Worth ISD. I really expect a better education for them. And all of this can be solved by simply placing a portable building. It's a portable building. It's not a toxic waste dump or a nuclear warhead. It's a portable. And it allows relief for those students and for those teachers. And I've seen people comment on, how we have amazing teachers and they're going to do amazing things. But if you really support the teachers at Beck, they would tell you to have a portable. So I want to talk a little bit about the school board meeting. I actually attended the school board meeting last night, and I was the only parent in this room to attend that school board meeting, and I actually spoke to the board about solutions that I think would be feasible for Beck. And to relieve the overcrowding occurring at Beck. So I really think we need to work in conjunction with the district, but part of that is showing up and having the board listen to you and listen to your concerns and present your concerns to them. I found them very willing to listen, and in fact, they allot 30 minutes for anybody to speak. And I guess if there were more people, they'd probably extend that. So it angers me that you guys would consider punishing 5 to 12-year-old students. And all it is a portable. That's it. It's not a big deal. This is a fast-growth district. I know that there's some concerns with it being there permanently, but I have every confidence that the board will come up with solutions. And, they have started planning now for next year. I know that they have.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you work at Beck too, or do you
No,
work at a
I
different
do
one?
not work at Beck.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you about Beck because I've heard people that have had kids there for a long time talk about how it keeps getting crowded. I don't want to have anybody tell me I am punishing a kid. My kids are going to go to Beck if the lines stay the same. I don't know. I'm not punishing anybody's kid. That is an offensive statement.
All right, Ron.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
Oh, please, no applause.
when the thing is, if you don't approve it, the people who are paying on a day-to-day basis are the students and the teachers.
This is a big, Kristen, I understand, and I'm really sorry that it's to this point. This is such a big picture thing, and you've just said a bunch of great points that are all very, very pertinent to educational concerns. We shouldn't even be talking about this.
I agree.
So I am not gonna, don't put that on, you remember the Ricky Bobby movie where he says, don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't put that on me. That's not me. I'm not here for that. I'm sorry.
But you're gonna
All right,
vote to.
This is just where
I'm gonna
we've
stop
ended
this,
up.
Rylan.
I understand, but no, because
You've made your point. You've made your point. She's speaking. Are you finished speaking?
I'm done speaking. I know that the townspeople and the parents that feed into Northwest ISD, I know that we can work together with the board to come up with some solutions. I am not happy about the overcrowding at Beck either. However, at this point in time, 2 days into the school year, it is not feasible to move students. It isn't. They're already formed relationships with those teachers. I mean, it's already happening.
All right, so there's some other people. You finished?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
finished.
thank
Thank
you. There's one other person that was on our list to speak. I want you to address, the real topic here is whether or not we vote to approve a temporary use permit or not. So if you get off that topic, I'm going to ask you to get back on that topic. So the last person that signed up until I got an email was Tara Durst, or however she says her name. Tara, you have the floor.
Point of order, I think the topic is the motion. We're not talking about approving a portable, we're talking about denying it.
Denying, I stand corrected, but it's still the temporary use permit.
Hi, I'm Tara Durst. I live at 6 Parkway Court here in Trophy Club. And I'm not going to go through a bunch of stuff as well. I think the board is kind of sick and tired of dealing with this. I do believe that the school district is the one that needs to be handling this issue. I am for the portables, mostly because I disagree with the way they are combining classes at this point for the art and music. But I do hope that this is a temporary solution. I do not want to see the portables for more than a couple of years at that. And I hope that the school district will come up with some other solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. And the last person is Maria Matafogo?
Yes.
Something like that.
Okay, it's Maria Matafogo, 2717 Trophy Club Drive. Well, obviously, I am here to ask you to deny the portables. And the reason is because, just like you said, council is not here to see how many students are in the art class or in the music class. I think that that's not the council's role, but the district's. So I don't even know why we're discussing that, if that's the reason to approve the portable about how many students a class has, right? Second, in these 2 days that the kids, that fourth grade have been divided between art and the music class, there has been no problem. The kids are attending those classes absolutely fine, and it's my opinion that it's a healthier environment and safer than to be outside in a portable. So I don't see any problem why they can't stay there. And my last point is that I do not understand why us as citizens, and I'm not talking as a Beck parent, have to permit something, issue a permit, because of the lack of planning that the district has shown. They have standed here since May, and you guys have asked them time after time to come here to see if it's possible to draw the boundaries. You've been offering solutions that they should be the ones coming up with them. And I've seen nothing from them. If I had sat here at these meetings and I had seen any of these people come here and say, you know what, yeah, we need the portable 1 year, this is what we're going to do, okay? I would be all for the portable and everything, but I don't trust. There's nothing that the district, the numerous persons that have stand here before you guys, have shown to us citizens and back parents that we can trust. I mean, there's no plan. They stay on their idea of the portable, and that's about it. And that is what it is frustrating. That I do not have confidence that after 2-3 years, we're not going to be sitting here and the excuse is going to be, oh, whoever told you that 3 years ago is no longer with us. You know what I mean? So if I had seen in all the meetings that I've been here, someone stand here and say, you know what, yes, I'm going to go back to the board and this is what we're going to do. Or at least, you know what, I did go to the board and they denied money for a building, they denied this or that, but we have seen nothing. So I don't know why us as citizens of Trophy Club, we have to pay the price for that.
All right, thank you. All right, Tim, were you trying to say something? Did you?
No, it's not worth it.
All right, Garrett, did you have something?
I just want to point something out. I think that the point that you just made is really what this is all about, from what I understand. And simply that is, we're being put in the place of a mediator, the way I view it. The citizens don't trust the ISD to get rid of these portables sometime in the future, whatever that reason of distrust is. And so they're looking to us as a body to say, council, force them into an uncomfortable situation so that y'all will have to make a decision. I mean, that's kind of where we're getting put. We're getting put in this mediation situation. And so on one side, we have people that say we're being cruel to children, and on the other side, we have people saying we're being unhealthy to children. And I just want to tell you guys, it's a lose-lose for us because we're a mediator all of a sudden. We shouldn't have to be a mediator. I have the same frustration. I worry about when this will get done. I don't know when the bonds issue. I have no decision over that. That's a school board issue. But I just wanted to point out that your point is 100% correct. This is really not about what we say it's about. This is about the citizens wanting this council to force you guys to expand the school quicker than you want to, or at least in the time frame that they believe that you promised them. That's really what we're talking about up here. So I just wanted to point that out. We're not talking about educating kids. We're not talking about class size. We're not talking about this and that. We're talking about how we force you guys to do something. And whether that's right, David, to say out loud, that's the way I believe.
All right, Ryland.
Thank you, sir. What Garrett just said is it really highlights on why I'm so troubled by this and why this has been a difficult thing. I told Dr. Warren, and I'm pretty sure I told Mr. McClure a couple meetings ago that I really don't want to be talking to y'all about y'all's operations. I really, really don't. But I've obviously, to be here, sitting here, I've obviously followed Trophy Club politics for a while, and I don't really follow the school elections that much, and my kids are getting to be school age, so that'll probably change. But I've followed this kind of stuff long enough to know that the ISD is going to put a bond package in front of me that I have to vote yes for, because they're insisting on including the most basic of needs, which represents a very small amount of their overall vision for the future, and they're going to tack it into that bond proposal. That's what we're hearing. That's the message we've been getting. So it's hard for me to sit here and feel any certain way about it when I know that I'm going to be put in a position that, guess what? My kids are going to that elementary school starting next September, and I'm going to have to go walk into a voting booth and say yes so they have a classroom. That's ridiculous. And again, I don't want to be telling the school district what to do or how to do it. Roanoke came in here about a year ago. I don't know, maybe not quite that long. They had a project in the city where they were replacing a bunch of perimeter fences on the town boundaries. And they were doing it as a beautification thing, but it was all private fences on private property. So if you lived on the outside of the town and you didn't take care of your fence, you got lucky. You got fence welfare, and they built you a fence. Well, that's Roanoke's deal, right? I don't care. Well, they messed up on one of their drawings, and it ended up they needed to build one of them on Trophy Club's inside the town Trophy Club. So I told them no, not because I thought that was that necessarily it was an ugly thing to do, but that I don't want to get pulled in on their decision making to subsidize somebody's private fence. Well, I don't want to get pulled in on the board's decision-making, of NISD's board, to attach a desperate need rider to a very large bond package and try to pull more votes into it, because that's kind of what I see happening. I've seen it happen with bond packages in Trophy Club in the past, and I'm sure it happens all over the state of Texas every election season. And so it really bothers me. I looked it up yesterday. The most recent school board election, there were 2,102 votes cast, and that was in 2014. And that very same day, for offices in Trophy Club, our offices here, we had 1,655 votes cast. So Trophy Club turns out, and we know Trophy Club turns out, and it bothers me that Trophy Club's going to turn out, and they're going to be over a barrel, because you guys don't want to spend 2.5% of your cash, or 3%, or whatever the number is, to meet a basic need. And it truly bothers me. And we've all been put in a very bad position because of what appears to us as an apparent misprioritization. And to Tim's point, without anybody coming here to explain to us what the plans are, like Garrett said, we're led to speculate. And so that's where the speculation leads me. And I'm just sad we're in this situation.
All right. So Dr. Warren, I'll let you summarize.
Let me talk as an outsider still, and I am. Okay, I've been doing this for 18 years. I've been a superintendent for 18 years. Okay, you guys are unique. I hope you know that. Okay, because you're not supposed to be dealing with this. All right, and the only thing I can say to that is I'm sorry, and I will take responsibility if I need to. But you're not supposed to have to do these kind of things. I've never been in a school district where parents would come to the city council meeting and not the board meeting. I have sat through many thousands of meetings where we've had phenomenal parent involvement with interaction with the school board. That's the way it's supposed to happen. Why a particular set of Trophy Club parents won't come to a board meeting, that's just part of my task of finding out. So whether I do it through the PTAs and I meet specifically with every one of the Trophy Club, the schools in Trophy Club boundaries, I'll do that, and we'll figure out why they're coming to you with this and not me and not the school board. Tim, there would never be a school board member that would show up at a meeting like that. The dynamics of a school board are legally different than the legal dynamics of a city council and a county commissioners. There's three main decision makers in any of the communities. We deal with the county, the city, and the school district. I'm the one that's supposed to come up. By law, by TEA mandate, board members are not supposed to act alone in any matters. The only place they have power, that they're able to speak to any matters of a school district, is when at least 4 of them are together as a group. And so it's on me.
Thing, and we go to meetings
okay.
all the time.
And
talk to the people.
But understand me.
People.
Okay.
Let him talk.
Yeah. You are part of a school district, and I need you to understand this, because in my meetings with the ex-superintendent, the retired superintendent, in my meetings with staff, our relationship between NISD and Trophy Club specifically was characterized as a good one. Okay, that is what it was characterized to me. And when I define good, I define it as there was a trust between us that we were making decisions that we needed to make. The issues that have come before you should not have. And again, I'm sorry about that. But you're dealing with a school district. If you look at the past, we have planned for growth for 10,000 kids in the last 10 years. We have handled that kind of growth as a district over the last decade. So you are dealing with a school board, and you're dealing with an administration who knows how to handle growth. They know how to plan for growth. There is no one in this state who may be better at it. You can look at Frisco. You can look at some other faster, but outside of these walls, Northwest ISD has a reputation of excellence for the growth that we've had to sustain over the last decade. So that doesn't make you feel any better for this issue. I understand that. But to say that this board is not forward thinking, there is no data to support that, guys. You are dealing with a district that has dealt with growth all in a huge 14 community school district. All right? And yes, we try to to prioritize a bond is a very specific thing, and we try to do our best to try to meet the needs of where we think they are. And I hope some of you will be involved in that bond discussion when we start having it. The only thing I ask you guys, number one, and I think Tim answered for you, we did look at the question that was asked, could we have not just moved kids to Lakeview? The demographic report, and I'm sorry to tell you, we didn't nail it this year. It wasn't 100%, but no demographic reports are 100% accurate, but we got very close on the kids that showed up for school yesterday. Very close. So I believe the demographic report would tells us if we move kids from Beck this year, we could have the same issue at Lakeview next year. I believe it from the data that was shown me. The second thing you asked me to do, could we use what is a small amount of our fund balance to do this project? Looking at our 5-year analysis, guys, and I kind of went on a tirade, I apologize last time, but we are in an area of school finance that is, it's nothing like I've ever seen. We're going to use between $10 to $14 million of fund balance for the next 5 years just to deal with the additional staff that we have to do. And again, that's just something we do. So out of good conscience, I would never ask the board to approve the usage of any part of our fund balance except for operational issues until the legislature does something, knock on wood, pray about it, about school finance, because we're going to need every penny of that just to hire the teachers to get in front of the kids that we need. So I understand I've got a lot of work to do with you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry the trust is not there. It was, whether it was portrayed to me wrong or we had a different perception, I apologize for that, and I will make a commitment to you that I'll fix it, and with your help we will fix it. But guys, I specifically have to have the power to be able to administer these facilities and place buildings where I need to, when we need to, understanding that your philosophy and your absolute hatred of portable buildings is the exact same as this school board's. And if you tell me what color it needs to be and how we need to make it safe and how we need to make it right for kids, we will comply every line. But I can't be limited on how we need to administer these and to make sure that we have the right facilities in the right places. So we respectfully ask you to approve this, and we appreciate what the P&Z did last week. The 3-year thing, that kind of came out of left field for us. Again, that does not fit the philosophy of this school board. We will redraw attendance lines. We will draw kids out of the schools that they are in now. We will ask families to move. That is what we're going to do. You've got it on record. You heard me say it. But we have to be able to have the authority to be able to place those buildings when we need to, it, understanding the philosophies are the same. So that's what I would respectfully request from you.
Thank you, Dr. Warren. All right, so Philip had asked to talk, and then I'll come down here.
I sort of disagree with you, Nick, on your earlier comment about the kids suffering. I'm the only one up here who has kids that are actually in Beck. So this has not been just an easy decision for me, because I know whatever decision I make, I'm potentially affecting my kids' friends, families that my wife and I know. So it's not an easy decision. I think that I don't think that there's necessarily, I don't think the relationship between NISD and the town I think it is good. I just think that we up here perceive that your predecessors made bad decisions. And I have no doubt that you will, redraw what you have to. It's just where were they a year ago? Where were they 2 years ago? Why are we so late coming to the game for this portable? I sort of feel like Mr. Conklin is Captain Edward John Smith, and he's telling the band to keep playing, and he's having to do what he has to do to keep the kids, you know, the teachers, the kids, everybody functioning. And I think that he's been, in my opinion, the families, the kids, the principal, the teachers, they've been let down by the district in poor planning. And so now it's coming to us to say, whoa, we screwed up here, so we need you to fix it. And I sort of feel that if we don't fix it, it does force the district to make critical decisions. And I firmly agree. We didn't, I think there were some of us that asked you to come back with money from the fund balance to go ahead and do the wing. But the mayor, I remember, just said, come back with plans. Go to engineering. Just show us that you're moving forward, and boom, that triggers a whole different thing for this council. So I sort of, it's tough for me because I'm making a decision for my kids, because my kids are going to live it. And but yet I think it's the right decision, and that's why I made the motion.
All right, so Garrett?
So a couple of, I have a question and then I have a couple thoughts. And my thoughts are based on trying to find some resolution of this so everybody can leave here tonight happy. That might be possible. We'll see. You say no, so you'll leave unhappy no matter what we vote. One of the things that we deal with here at the city level, and I'm going to ask if y'all deal with this in the 80s, the park bond that we voted on, how many years ago is that?
09.
09. Okay, and we're still spending little bits of the park bond, right? Or we've finally finished that off? We're about out.
We just finished it.
Okay, so we just finished it. So my question is this. Does the school, now I'm not talking about your general fund, are there any bond funds that are out there that have not been spent yet? Yes or no? Tim, I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Nope, you're good. Yes, there are.
Okay, so there are some bond funds that have not been spent yet. You guys are waiting to earmark them for something.
That's correct.
Okay, so follow me on this, guys. What I would suggest would be this then. You guys admittedly have some bond money out there. We're not talking about the money for the teachers and all that. If we put forth a motion that said, we'll approve your portable building contingent on the board, the ISD board, approving excess bond funds to start the remodel and add the 2 classrooms on the building, then the moms get what they want. They get the addition coming up. You guys get your portable building. If they agree that they'll do it right now, then you're submitting for permits. You're doing that. They vote to approve to use those additional funds, the $2 million to do it. Then you get your permit to add the buildings. Your building's there for about a year, maybe less than that, to get the building built. You didn't go in your general fund. Whoops. You got your portable buildings. They got their additional classrooms. That seems like it'd be a win-win for everybody. That resolves the issue. So that's just a thought. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I mean, that's what we were talking about, was to start the process. And if there's funds available to start the process, to design, to go, that by the time the bond passes, you're building almost immediately.
They have bond funds now. I'm just saying,
I
can
don't
they
know how much they have or whatever.
Yeah, we don't know
I'm
how
just
much
saying
it
to
is.
start that process.
All right, finish your thoughts.
But that's my thought. I mean, I would guess there'd be close to $2 million. I mean, is there? Okay, there's about $2 million in there, and then we all leave with the win-win. You guys get a building for basically a year, and then the board's approving next week to submit those funds to that. We know we're getting the school built. Everybody trusts y'all, and everybody up here is happy. Maybe.
I don't know. I would be. Yeah.
And I don't have to sleep on the couch tonight for voting no.
All right, so I think Tim tried to talk, and I'll come back to him.
Well, I was just going to say that was what we were trying to say last time. I think we used the 72 million, but if there's bond funds available, that's what we were saying. Use the money available to start the process. I'm not saying that it has to be fast-tracked, but show us that the process is happening. I mean, Tiffany hit on it, that, you know, there's stuff that's from 2012 that's just getting green-lighted now, right? 4 years later, and you know, this is a tiny project in compared to what you guys are all doing, right? I mean, yeah, sure.
Yes, I'd love to speak to that.
Sure.
Because the district does, and to Dr. Ryder Warren's point, very, very strategic about when we place buildings.
Right.
If we were to place that building, the middle school 6, which is actually going to bid next month, so it's not been planning stage, it actually bids next month, starts construction before the end of the year. If that had been done any sooner than what it's doing right now, we would have opened that building at a capacity of probably 30% or less, which is not a feasible option for us to be good stewards of our taxpayers' dollars. We want to open a building no less than 50% occupied. That's just the model that works best when you're staffing a building that size. So there's not a there's a logistical reason as why that was delayed. It's it's getting capacity in all the other campuses.
That's not what I'm
so.
saying. What I'm saying is that you have multiple projects going on.
That's correct.
That the Medlin project is an extremely small project comparatively that could take a lot could take a lot longer because there's a lot more priority items going with the bond. That it could take 12 months, 18, who knows? You give it to your engineers and it could take them however long to do it. So I can't imagine that it's top priority, I guess is what I'm saying.
Our
compared to the other stuff
prioritization
going.
follows where our limits of capacity are. So it would be a top priority. Anything that's at a limit of capacity is what prioritizes when we need the addition or the next building. And
Right, but it hasn't gotten to the priority that you would use the existing bond fund, so it's not that top.
It's right there. It's within 5%. Yeah, it's right there. It's on the cusp. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So can I amend the motion that's on the floor?
Just a second. We had people that wanted to have the floor, so I'll get you for a motion unless somebody wants to yield. So Greg had
Amendment
the
to the
floor
motion.
next.
Speaking of the park bond, the school bond that would be proposed, you spell out the particular projects, or is it a generic bond that you'll do whatever's needed for the school district?
Yeah, no, we go through a committee meeting, a long-range planning committee that's been in place in this district for the last 15 years. It utilizes the citizens of all over the district. We reach out to them. We reach out through the principals. We reach out to business leaders. We utilize committee members that don't even have students in the building. And we go through a process in which every project is defined, every project is estimated, and a prioritization is then presented to the board. It is not the committee's nor the staff's charge or ability to say this is what we need. We present the prioritization, the funding for each prioritization to the board, and let the board kind of draw the line on what that amount needs to be to take out to the voters for the bond.
Okay, but that's
I
not
think
my
your
question. That's not my,
Okay,
my
I'm
question.
sorry.
My question is, you're going out for $100,000.
Okay.
50,000 goes to Trophy Club, 50,000 goes to Roanoke. Is that specified in the bond?
It's specified per project, yes, sir.
Yeah, per project.
Per
for the bond.
project.
So how would you get money from an existing bond that wasn't this project?
Through the Long Range Planning Committee, we sit with them, and we're about to engage that process here. We had it slated to engage the end of September, and they will help prioritize those existing funds.
Because I'll just explain why, as far as the park bond, and maybe it's just apples and oranges.
See where you're going.
The park bond was proposed with 10 items. Number 7, after it was passed, became number 1. In fact, number 1 and number 2 weren't even built. And 4.1 million, whatever, of the 5 million went to number 7. So that's my concern that, is it spelled out in writing that Trophy Club will have X amount of dollars?
It would be, yes, as a part of the bond, yes. Or a part of using bond savings. Either way, it would be spelled out, yes.
Okay. So, Garrett, I'm going to come to you as a council person that spoke to get the floor. We do have a staff member who raised his hand. I don't know what he wanted to say. But if you want to yield to somebody else talk, but I'll let you.
I'll yield to Rylan because he has a point he wants to make.
Oh, well, I mean, I just wanted to make a point about what Garrett just floated. It's a creative thought, and that's the kind of conversations that could happen on the side if our 2 residents that lived here and have run and been elected to this board had engaged in a single conversation with anybody else on this board who was motivated to try and come up with some third way that we've been asking for now for 2 months. And that is what is so frustrating. And Garrett has shown, he's been in this chair for 2 years now, and he has shown over and over and over that no matter how much he tries to self-deprecate himself, he comes up with some great ideas. And I want everybody who is within earshot of this to demand this kind of proactive thought from everybody you vote for, including the school board. I'm so frustrated. I mean, I just
right.
it just really bothers me. And I do want to correct one thing Dr. Warren said. I don't hate portables personally at all. I don't like when plans go astray and then I see why they went astray. Portables, I'm not religious against them. I don't like to see basic needs not being met when I know that there are not basic needs that get met every single day because of things just get out of whack. If I didn't feel that way, I wouldn't be sitting here.
All right. Garrett,
Okay.
you have the floor.
Philip might call me out of order or say this is not proper, but
We'll see.
okay, we'll see. So I want to amend the motion that's on the floor, and the amendment to the motion would be to approve the portable buildings pending the Northwest ISD School Board approving existing bond funds to begin planning, bidding, and construction of the two
Of the
classrooms, of the additional spaces needed for the building.
Is that legal?
Let's see if they can do that first.
Just a minute, just a minute.
Maybe that's too much.
Yeah, I was gonna, before I got to legality, I was gonna start to get to some of the other. It's actually gonna be cleaner if you just vote on the motion to
And
deny
then just
or
make
second,
another, and just
and
make
see where
another
that
motion.
goes.
It would be
Okay.
fine to move it as a substitute motion,
Okay, then I take
which
that off.
does away
Okay.
with the motion if it carries.
But
it's
then I
fine.
have,
So you have a motion to approve the temporary use permit.
Wait,
I have some if you're trying to word a substitute motion, I have some other questions too.
Go ahead.
You said pending the NISD school board
Contingent,
taking action or
contingent upon, yeah. What I'm trying to do, and Dr. Warren, before I finish this motion, I may ask you to chime in here.
I
Because
need to.
what I'm trying to do, what I'm really trying to do is make everybody here happy.
Right.
Right? And that's the end goal that I'm trying to achieve right now. And I know it's a weird format to do this in. I agree with Rylan. We probably should have done this with some other people, but I think tonight's this is it. This is where it happens. We got to do something tonight. So I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about this, and then David, I want to
Well,
get back to
Garrett,
you so that I can make.
you are, may I?
Just a minute.
Okay.
We have somebody that has made a motion.
Wait a second.
I don't have a second.
You have the motion is to deny in a second.
Talking about the amendment?
You have a motion to
No,
deny in a
no,
second.
I'm talking about the amended motion.
Substitution.
He's making a motion. I have to see if I have a second first.
I'll second if it's legal.
Okay.
I have some concern. Well,
We have some concerns. I'll be back to you in just a minute, David, okay? We're gonna get
So
through
let
this.
me ask this. If they do what you say, if we deny it tonight and they do what you say, and they come back to us, they can get the trailer because they would have plans then. So why would we make a motion to approve pending their approval of the construction plans or the documents or the engineering, when they can basically come back to us and say, okay, here, we're moving forward? Because that throws us in a whole different, and I would think that would throw us in a whole different category, because then you're talking construction is being planned, and you could potentially put a trailer there because we have construction documents, or they're moving forward with that.
It's a construction trailer.
I don't know the answer, Philip. I'm really looking
So-
to David.
So we have a
Dr. Warren
motion
for
and a second.
resolution.
That's on the floor. And whether it's a motion to amend that totally dealt with the wording, or it's a substitute motion that accomplishes the same task, other than if it's a motion to amend, we'll vote twice if it were to pass. If it's a substitute, you vote once. Now,
I think you need clarification before you.
clarification from whom?
Sorry, David.
On whether or not that
Not good at
triggers a
making
whole
motions.
different
You're
thing.
fine. That's
Well,
no
so
question.
I'm getting there. So if in fact the denial were to happen, and they went back, did planning, came up with funds, were coming back, they'd start back at P&Z.
Correct.
They'd start all over
If we denied it.
if you denied it. And is there some time limit on the denial?
No, sir. This is not a zoning action.
So there's no time limit, okay. So, yes, Phil, it could be accomplished that way. You could vote the original motion to deny it. They could go work out a plan. They could come back and think that we would approve something. Okay, so now, David, how would you clarify, or what would you prefer we do?
I'm not sure I'm too preference yet. I think I might have some questions. I think I understand.
Mayor,
what you're
can I just say one thing?
Go right ahead.
before- Okay. You guys are working hard. Y'all are working very hard, and I appreciate that. On behalf of the school district, we're going to withdraw this request. Okay? And let me make sure you understand this. We will go to our legal counsel, and we're going to see if we can put this building down without you. Because you should not even be, I mean, you have worked too hard on this. We will comply with every ordinance that you have about what it's going to look like and the safety. But if, and this is not something we're going to get emotional about, guys. We feel we have to do this to serve the children that we need to, and this is a part of our planning processes. If our attorneys and if our legal firm says that we don't need your permission to place it, we just need your guidance on what it's going to look like and how it's going to take care of kids, we're going to do that. If they tell us, nope, absolutely do not do that, then we'll deal with it as the year goes on, and we'll deal with what we have. You guys should not be dealing with this. And I apologize that you had to. I will try to do my very best to make sure you're not going to hear this kind of stuff again. And then we'll move on. If we place this building without your permission, I hope you understand this is a business decision, and there's always going to be a next issue. There's always going to be a next issue, and I hope we're hand in hand and arm to arm with it. And I apologize for having to put you through this hours and hours of discussions that we have. So we will get back to you just as soon as we can on what our decision is going to be, and then then y'all will have a reaction to it, and we understand that, and then we'll go down the road and take care of our kids like we always have it. Okay?
All right. Thank you, Dr.
All
Ward.
right. Thank y'all.
All right. Thank you for coming. All right. So, council, it is 9:32, and we're going to stand in recess for 10 minutes. It is 9:44, and we have returned from recess. We are on item 11, and the petitioner withdrew his request for the temporary use permit. However, we do have a substitute motion on the floor that had a second and a main motion on the floor. So I'm going to go to Councilmember Reed to see if he wishes to withdraw his substitute motion.
I do.
And does the second agree?
Yes.
That was Tim Kurtz.
Yes, I agree.
All right, so we're back to the motion. I'll go to the main motion. I'll go to Philip Schaffner and see if he wishes to remove his motion.
Philip Shaw.
Philip, wake
Would
up.
you like to withdraw your motion?
Philip.
We're okay?
Yeah,
I'm conferring with my
yeah, it's
advisors.
legal. It was just asking another option, but yeah, it's fine.
Yes.
All right, and Lamont, do you agree?
Yes, I do.
All right, so the
advisors
two
agree.
motions have been withdrawn, and the petitioner withdrew his application for a temporary use permit, and so the matter is closed at this point. Anything else we need to take care of?
Just close with no action. Is what
All right. Item number 12, receive presentation from Trophy Club Municipal Utility District Number 1 regarding proposed water sewer rate increase and tax rate increases, discussion of same. This was carryover from previous meeting. There was nobody from the MUD that came to make a presentation. I did invite, prior to the last meeting, President Carr to come. He said he could not. I did not extend another invitation to him. Obviously, the public hearings happened and the MUD took various actions. So I didn't stay for the whole meeting, but I think Mayor Pro Tem Lamont stayed and Schaffner stayed. Anything you want to report as to what the MUD did compared to water and sewer rates?
Well, they approved the water rates of, I don't know the exact numbers, but the 1-inch lines were like 58% increase. The 5/8 lines were going up 30%. They delayed the sewer approval. They wanted some more information. Just to clarify something, I did extend an invitation to President Carr over the weekend, and he said he wouldn't come.
All right.
I think that, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, okay, it's fine.
I think the whole reason for wanting the MUD to come before us is because just to basically explain to the council, because we are the representatives of the PID, we're the ones that actually have to raise their rates, even though it's mandated in the 99-year agreement. But I would point out in the 99-year agreement, in section 9.2, I think, it actually says that, you know, the two bodies should get together for a joint meeting, and one of the reasons is for hikes in the or amendments in the rate order, and so that certainly spells it out. I know that we've kind of had a tug of war of whether or not they should come before us. I think it's just for public relations. It's good for the MUD to come before us and discuss these rates, especially since it's not your typical hike. It's a drastic hike from where they're at. But certainly, I think the 99-year agreement kind of spells out a joint meeting, you know, should be done before those hikes are.
I want to add to that, Philip, because what hit me, I dropped into the meeting that the MUD board had last week, it was, I guess, and I dropped in for about 45 minutes or so, and then I left. And what hit me was, one, you have PID rates, that's fine, but we also have water costs in our budget, and Stephen, one of them could probably tell you about how much more it's going to cost me. I can't go to their meeting and stand up and ask them questions because I'm on this board. I'm not allowed to do that. And I sit there every time. I'm going to stop going to their meetings because I sit there and bite a hole through my tongue because I'm curious. I have questions or whatever. And so I think there's got to be some vehicle where if one of us has a question, at least you can ask it. But with the benefit of having the body present so that we can all hear the dialogue. So I mean, even though the rates are what they are, and they're not, I can't change them. A lot of people weren't happy at the meeting the other night, but at least you'd be able to have the conversation.
And I think that's what the 99-year agreement, I think I added that section, if I remember correctly.
You weren't on the council.
Yes, I was. Yeah. Because
We did the 99?
Nick ran the meeting, yeah.
No, he ran the meeting as a MUD director.
Yeah, he ran the meeting as a MUD director. Yes, I was on the council.
But just to correct it, it's 9.1. So
I'm
the MUD,
offended.
the MUD will say you're wrong, but it's 9.1, just to correct the record.
Okay,
But
there you
I
go.
think more importantly, I have an issue with their reserves. I spoke to one of the MUD directors, and he said, well, there might have been some misinterpretation or misstatements when it was presented to the workshop on August, 12th. So that's why they have to come here. They're claiming they only have $180,000 in reserves. I don't believe it.
All right. Anybody else? Philip, did you finish before you were interrupted?
Yes, I finished before the Mayor Pro Tem rudely interrupted me.
Well, as usual, you know, sometimes once in a blue moon you correct me, and I try not to, you know.
All right.
I stand corrected.
Item 13, consider and take appropriate action regarding a resolution repealing resolution number 2015-13 and adopting a new resolution
Where's our chair?
making annual appointments and reaffirming existing appointments to serve on the Crime Control and Prevention District Board and providing an effective date. Council, we have placed on the executive session agenda an opportunity to discuss appointments. And so without objection, I was just going to hold this item until we came back from executive
I agree.
session. Is that okay?
I agree.
All right. Holly, in the future, I'll try to catch this too, but if we're making appointments, put them at the end of the agenda.
Okay.
That way, if we're going to go into executive session to discuss appointments, we can do so and then come out, and we won't have to move them.
Okay.
We'll try to remember that. All right, item 14, discuss and receive an update regarding fiscal year 2017 budget. That says staff, so I assume that's Stephen G.
Yes, Mayor and Council, on Friday I sent out an updated version of the proposed 2017 budget. It included a tax rate of 47.9 cents. It also included some other proposed changes, and I sent a one sheet that detailed those changes. We updated sales tax numbers based on August collections. We decreased the property tax in the general fund. It decreased by about $78,000. Because the ratio changed, it increased the debt service property tax by about $2,000. Based on council action, we removed the fines and fees associated with golf cart registration. We upped the franchise fees associated with solid waste based on our collections to date. We changed the timing of the supplemental investigative assistant to save about $27,000. And we reduced the fuel in every department, including street maintenance sales tax that uses fuel. And then we had personnel savings in the streets department due to hiring a new employee. We reduced the town manager's contingency, and that is all of the changes. So I'll be happy to answer any questions about the tax rate or the proposed budget.
I would say we did not reduce the gallons consumed.
The price.
We kind of looked at the price and,
Yes.
you know, and said, okay, well, we can adjust that a little bit.
Well, with the comprehensive plan now will be removed, the 75,000, correct?
77,500. It was 77.5 for 17 and 18, correct.
So I would like to see at least dropping a penny on that tax rate. I think that would still keep us above what you have projected now.
But I thought you were saying it was 2 years, that 77 was across 2 years.
No,
It is.
the 150 is across 2 years.
Oh.
155 is
Right,
split
okay.
between 2 years,
Yeah.
I
correct.
thought he was saying the 77 was.
So you're saying a half a penny in addition to what we've already dropped? to
I'm
the
just
half a penny?
saying go a penny from what our tax rate is now,
Yes.
currently.
So we're dropping another half cent.
Yeah, and you know, it'll basically look the same for 2 years. Going out past 2 years, it'll affect your fund balance. Another half a penny will take
700,000. No.
well, just for that, it'll take close to 200,000 out of your fund balance in year 5 of that 5-year forecast.
All right, so Philip, you're suggesting that without the comprehensive plan in the budget, that as opposed to making the 47.9 be the rate, that you think it could be lowered more?
Yeah, I think
474?
474. You would come in with a little bit more, than what you have. I understand what you're saying in the out years.
But are you assuming evaluations would be flat?
No.
No.
We assume a 7 or 8% increase for next year, then a 5% increase, and then going past that, I believe we have either 2 or 3% increases.
And then what is the unknown factor is what the legislature may do. They may cap that at 4% or 3%. You don't know.
I know, but you can't go by that. Ever since I've been in Trophy Club, I've been told that the legislator is going to do away with the mud, and it hasn't happened yet. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but we can't make our decisions based on a what if.
I have a couple
All right,
things.
Rylan?
So I made a lot of detailed notes last night. There's some benefit of the doubt for Stephen things that, with no Stephen, I want to ask more questions. But also there's some things that I'm thinking, do we need to give a new town manager the opportunity to survey the lay of the land and make a decision about a few of the supplemental items that had to do with some tools we were looking at buying and some of the smaller supplemental personnel items that we talked about. So I don't know if you guys wanted to go into that now and try to go down a list of things, or if it would be more productive if I put a list together and we tried to have an agenda item for the next meeting.
I think that would be more productive.
I think it would be too. So that's I just wanted to give Stephen a heads up that I'm going to give y'all a couple separate bullet points of things where I just want a little more info, or found a couple things that I wanted to ask deeper questions about and give y'all a little time to put a deck together for us, or just notes or whatever for the next meeting.
The other item that relates to budget is after our executive session where we consider Stephen's resignation, there's some action that we need to discuss. And part of that might be, well, what's the procedures we're gonna go through to find a replacement, and is there a cost for that? And how does that affect the budget, along with the fact of compensation of acting town manager and what savings you think you might have with Stephen gone for X months. So all of that is a financial figure. I don't know that we know all those figures, but we'll have some discussion about those. Stephen, Seidel, it seems like you said to me that if you engaged a company to help go through the process of screening applicants for town manager, you threw out a figure, I think, of what you thought that might cost. But we haven't talked to anybody, but I've got that on my future agenda list to say, okay, council, when do you want that to start happening if we're gonna do that process? So, do you have a figure on that roughly, or this is a guess?
I
or-
think that you should anticipate anywhere between 20 and 30,000.
So I just want to bring that up as we're talking about these other points.
Sure.
We recognize there's a reduction of the 77,000. I think we need to get all those points out. If you can get those to Stephen and Stephen, then they can look at those. And then I think we can have a really good discussion at next meeting. And because we have 2 meetings before we actually set the rate, right? Another public hearing next meeting, and then the last meeting set the rate?
Correct.
As if I'm tracking that correctly.
22nd.
Yeah. All right, anything else, Ryland, you got?
No, sir, that
Oh, the
was.
27th, sorry,
27th, yeah.
Oh, you know what? I do want to ask one specific question because I know that Glickman can answer it and might as well just answer it here. I did notice we had the list of, on the supplemental items for ongoing costs, and there was all the different software packages. We were talking about the easy transparency and the CRM and et cetera, et cetera. There was one on there for every other $12,500 every other year for cash processes. This is something that I wished I'd have thought to ask you then. Where does the benefit in that come in outside of what we already received from the fact that we have to audit those yearly?
Well, the audit, it only covers the financial statements. So what this is a much more detailed look at our actual cash controls and processes to detect, fraudulent type activities and make sure that we're using the best processes that are available to our staff. The audit, they do not issue an opinion on the effectiveness of our internal control. Okay. And this wouldn't be a separate audit or an opinion on that internal control, but it would be somebody that would help us design the internal control environment and processes that will keep our assets safe.
Okay. Think of it like hiring a hacker to try to hack your system.
Yeah, no, I get. Yeah, I totally get all that. I didn't know if that was the engagement or if there was any audit overlap or not.
They do ask us about cash handling and our processes, but
they only go so far.
It's a walk. They do a walkthrough of each of our cash processes, but they don't help us with the design or implementation or evaluation of those control activities.
It's a lot like Pastor's vulnerability assessment that he's ordering, except it's a vulnerability assessment for where we touch cash.
That's right.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Okay, cool. Well, maybe we won't have to do it every other year, but I don't think I oppose doing it next year because we probably haven't ever done it.
Yeah, it's about $2,500 a day, so that gets me basically 5 days. I'm hoping that I can evaluate because we have so many different areas where we get cash, and I don't want to spend $12,500 on an area that only gets $10,000 a year or something like that. So, you don't want the benefit to outweigh the cost. But we have so many areas, and some of those areas are manned by 1 or 2 people that, it probably helps to look at those, get each one of those every 5 years. That you're looking at those each every 5 years. So that's really what that plan is.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on the budget? All right, move on to item 15, discussion of items for future agenda to include agenda items for consideration on the upcoming regular session council agenda for September 13th, 2016, and items from the town council future agenda list. If you turn to page 308 of your packet, I have a question about number 5 and 6. Is that a misprint because didn't number 5 happen tonight? We're only going to conduct 1 public hearing at the next meeting? Not 2?
There will be a second public hearing for the tax rate, and there would be a public hearing that's required by the charter for the budget. And I believe,
Okay, I see, you're saying, okay.
yeah, and I believe on the 27th we have the public hearing for the assessment plan, but we can also approve the assessment plan in the same meeting where we have the public hearing. We can't do that with the tax rate and the budget.
Okay, so one of the public hearings is just the budget,
That's correct.
That's right.
and that's the only public hearing required for that.
That's correct.
That's
Okay.
correct.
So then the second one that's listed there is to follow on our tax
That's
rate.
truth and taxation
Correct.
Right,
requirements.
okay. And then down on number 10, consider and take appropriate action regarding an ordinance amending section 3 of Zone Board of Directors for ordinance for the reinvestment, the TERS.
Yeah, that's to increase the numbers per,
So there's been some discussion about increasing the number of the TERS board and having EDC members serve on the TERS board. Is that what you were thinking, Ryland?
Yes, sir.
And so if you were saying everybody on EDC served on TERS, then you'd have to increase the number of TERS. The other option is you just name the people from EDC to serve on the TERS. And so this is, I'm trying to get clarification. Do you want staff to spend time drafting an ordinance to amend the TERS ordinance so that it expands the board? Or are you okay with just the process of leaving the number the same and you just name some of the EDC to be on the TERS board?
I think it's better to expand because I think your goal is to have those meetings simultaneous or one after the other.
Back to back. Seems
yeah.
like it'd be
So I'd hate to bring in some people and then say, well, you gotta leave now.
My only thought behind it was to make it more clear cut as to why it's set up the way it is, and it could be. We had an instance earlier in the year where some people didn't understand what being an alternate meant. You know, I mean, sometimes these things, they get so obtuse, and the TERS isn't going to really schedule meetings very often compared to the EDC. So I think there's an advantage in adding the seats to it for clarity's sake and for that way everybody knows it should function as this is the same group of people, just obviously from a paperwork standpoint. It's two bodies. There's two different actions, different meetings that take place, different agendas get posted, things like that. But save everybody the time and trouble of having to be here two separate times when those things occur. But if y'all would just as soon name to the spots that we have, and the consensus is to leave it as is, I'm certainly not religious about it.
I think my only point, and I'll come to you, Greg, is TERS board actually has someone from the county on it.
Correct.
So that means they have to know when to show up for that meeting, or it has to be the first meeting. I do see some complexities starting, and the fact that it doesn't meet, TERS doesn't meet very often, then did I receive really any benefit from him? So Greg, you had your hand up.
Do we now have an even number? I mean, is there any problem with having an even number on a board?
Not great.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
another
ideal.
reason
Better
not
have
to
an
do
odd
it.
number.
Yeah.
It just means you can have a tie.
That's my point.
How often has the
That's just like somebody that it fails.
Has the county representative been present at all the meetings? I know we don't have them very often, so.
I think there's only been one where they weren't able.
Yeah,
they
so
weren't
they-
able
they're
to attend.
there.
I know that we're having a TERS board meeting tomorrow, and they're attending tomorrow.
So
they
it may-
attended the last one.
I've never seen them at any of those joint meetings that we had.
All right, so I'm just trying to say, if you want to consider it, we'll draft the ordinance to deal with it. But if you don't want to do that, then there's no use wasting the time drafting the ordinance. So that's where I am.
Well,
So I'm not in favor of it. Anybody else want to
it
express?
saves us money if we don't, if we just leave it like it is. And I have no problem naming people,
Yeah, me neither.
so.
Yeah, I'm happy leaving it like it is.
All right, so item 10, Holly, goes away. Is that clear? All right. Item 11, consider and take appropriate action designating the chair of the boards and commissions to be on the Ethics Commission. I didn't do the research to see, does that expand the Ethics Commission? It has alternates, right?
It would, yeah, and Holly brought that up a minute ago, and I told her that I don't necessarily have the intention of expanding it, given that it's a once-a-year board up to this point. So we could always word it in such a way that's the
You just named the
candidate
people.
pool, yeah, or whatever. It doesn't necessarily. I don't know that we necessarily have to change the ordinance on that one.
Okay.
Might save you some
All right.
time and trouble there.
Anybody disagree with that?
No, I support that. If you listened to their last meeting, you would support it too, so.
All right. The other item that I
Holly had to
have,
run it.
No, I think I just highlighted item 14 for myself. If we were adding an item to this, I think next council meeting, we need to have an item about the discussion of engaging a consultant for the search of town manager. So we can talk about that more, but we need as a body to be able to make that decision. So Holly, I think that needs to be on our next agenda if possible. And we can talk about that more.
Yeah, and then on the budget items that I was just talking about, as late into the game as we are, I don't know if it makes more sense to agenda for action so we can make motions on specific items to add or take out. That way we don't have to have a whole nother round of looking at it again.
So item 14 should be appropriate action.
I would think so, yeah.
Thank you. Holly, you clear on that?
Yes, sir.
And as far as future agenda items, the only thing I would point out is on number 6, it says, discussion of PD 21 related to signage specific to window signs and monument signs. And I was just wondering, is PD 21 the Meet You Anywhere 7-Eleven area?
I think when you presented that, that was a Tom Thumb area.
The Tom Thumb area, right, which has that issue. And so, do we need to talk about monument signs there? Have we had any request about that?
No, this relates to window signs
So I think it's just
primarily.
window sign, if you want to strike and monument signage. And that's a bigger topic than just that PD, but when I put it there, it was because there was issue at that PD. Yeah, there is, and so we need to deal with it. Okay, so I guess the question is that a difficult item, staff, to deal with that signage issue?
Code enforcement has been working with the property owner on that. We are encouraging them to address it either by having their tenants remove the signs or come in and amend the zoning to at least match what the Code of Ordinances requires, which is 25% maximum coverage on signs in the storefronts.
But you're getting a property owner that's really not trying to do that.
No.
So can we take action and just change that zoning?
We can involuntarily rezone anybody's property, but there are restrictions with that, and it would require a supermajority vote on the part of the council if they were to oppose that rezoning.
We could start enforcing the ordinance as it's written too. It's pretty draconian. I mean, we'd have to, and it's been allowed to go for years and years and years and years. And I think y'all know, we sent out letters telling them to take them all down, trying to spur the action on to get them here. We've asked the property owner to come and propose an ordinance change, and just toward the end of last week, we sent them another letter and said, okay, we're really giving you 30 days to come in and do something, or you're gonna have to start removing your signs. That comes to you guys really quickly, and so.
Is that the open signs we're talking about, or every sign?
Those signs don't allow open,
They don't allow anything.
So if we
Their
told,
hours of operation are not allowed.
so if we told those property owners what we told Meet You Anywhere, they'd be in compliance?
Meet You Anywhere isn't. Oh, if they moved them back?
Yeah.
No, because you have things on windows.
No, I'm saying the open signs. If we did what we did for Meet You
They
Anywhere.
could do that.
That would work, but they've got.
But you're talking about anything that's on
the glass.
We need the landlord to come in. Here's how you get the landlord to come in. I'll just tell you, you hit him in his pocketbook. You send a letter to all the tenants, and you say, we have notified your landlord that we're willing to work to solve this issue. We've gotten no response from the landlord, therefore we as a town will start next week fining you X dollars.
That's similar to what the letter is,
Okay.
the 30
But-
days, and we're gonna write the ticket
But
to
let the
the landlord.
Yeah, let the tenants know that we've tried to contact the landlord and that we're gonna start, they're gonna all call their landlord and go, I'm not paying you rent, we're willing, let them go fight the fight for us. Let them know we're trying to get a hold of the landlord and that we're gonna start finding them. They'll all
Okay.
call the landlord will go, okay, I'll fix it.
All right, so it's not gonna be on our next agenda. That was the only thing we at least got some input and action. All right.
No action.
All right, Greg, I think I've covered everything other than we're gonna go back to
Anybody have
an item.
future agenda items?
Can I ask one question? When do we set the rate for, I noticed that the EMS rate is on there. What about the one that is just, is that the whole assessment or is that just the fire component?
There's two that you'll approve. One is the fire component,
Right.
and the other one is the fixed assessment.
And when do we
So-
do that? That's not the next meeting?
No, it'll probably be the 27th meeting.
And do we know where that is projected to be? Because we dropped it way low last year, right? Like in the 10, 15
Because they had
cents.
overcollected.
They overcollected.
Oh, do you mean the PID okay, you're talking about something else.
Surcharge.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
PID surcharge.
Right.
So that's another thing that we have. That one I don't know if we do that one before October 1st or
Is it done later?
it may have been done before January 1st of each year. I'll have to check on that one.
January.
But that's
But that's billed in the tax bill, correct? Or is that?
No, that's
No,
billed
that's
on
on
their
the water
water
bill.
bills.
On their water bill.
Did they,
That's-
so,
Yes.
I didn't know that.
15%.
They won't
Do
even
they get
notice now.
15% of that too?
It'll happen on the first month they get an increase.
Yeah, they'll have a $400 water bill. They're not
Oh,
going to notice
man.
the $3.
This year, I think it was 68 cents a month, but it should be around
$8.
$8 or $9
Oh,
or something like that.
God.
That's
Which
what it
is what it
normally is.
was. It was.
What it was before.
That's what it was before, but
Probably should even that out a little bit.
Yeah,
No, we didn't want to hold their money.
overcollected, so it should go
They're
up to
getting
about
15%
$9.
if they're late.
All right, anybody have anything else for future agenda?
You're talking about next council meeting or just future agenda?
I said future agenda, but whatever you want, Greg.
Just checking. I'd like to look into a program for volunteers for the sports fields and parks. The sports associations many times have said to us they'd like to help, and we've kind of, whether ignored it for whatever reason. And just like we do with the police and fire volunteers. On the weekends, our good illustrious council member Schaffner is out there tie wrapping.
I did do that.
Or when we need
I
a
wrapped
bunch
the
of
tennis
evidence
courts. Got tired of it.
All right, so Holly, he added an item to look into a volunteer program for parks, which is broad, and we can narrow it down if we can get to it, okay?
Do we need to, before I put anything on future agenda, the item that we tabled and you were gonna get with the district manager, is that getting resolved or?
Yes.
Okay. So it'll be back before us? Okay.
My guess is that I've got to talk with our town attorney regarding that. I did have a meeting with the general manager, and so, but I need to talk to our attorney regarding the language, and then send that to you. I'll be sending that out as soon as I have a chance to sit down with him and go over a red line.
Okay.
And she leaves in 7 days?
31st.
All right. Okay, anybody else for future agenda? All right. Item 16. Pursuant to the following designated section of the Texas Government Code, annotated Chapter 551, Texas Open Meeting Act, the council will convene into executive session to discuss the following. Section 551.074, personnel matters to discuss or deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. Item 1, Crime Control Prevention District Board. Item 2, acceptance of Town Manager Stephen Seidel's resignation. B, Section 551.071's consultation with attorney under subsection 1, when the governmental body seeks the advice of the attorney about pending or contemplated litigation, and subsection 2, for consultation with the attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney of the governmental body under the disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflict with the Open Meetings Act 551.071, 1 and 2, legal advice regarding fire and emergency medical services, interlocal agreements with Trophy Club Municipal District Number 1, and Fire Department Services. It is 10:17, and we are in executive session. If we will come to order, we will reconvene into regular session at 11:15 p.m. Consider and take appropriate action regarding the executive session. We will return to item 13 in our agenda packet. And item 13 said, consider and take appropriate action regarding a resolution repealing resolution number 2015-13 and adopting a new resolution making annual appointments and reaffirming existing appointments to serve on the Crime Control and Prevention District Board and providing an effective date. It would be Resolution 2016-19, and the chair would recognize Ryland Rowe for a motion.
Yes, sir. I move that we approve Resolution 2016-19, appointing the following individuals to the Crime Control and Prevention District Board to terms to expire in 2018. Paul Glowacki, Alicia Fleury, and Thomas McLean. And reaffirming the current terms of the following 4 individuals: Richard Savage, Thomas Class Sr., Kyler Campbell, James J. Isherwood, those terms to expire in 2017, and for the effective date to be today.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Rowe, seconded by Councilmember Kurtz, approving our appointments to the CCPD. All in favor, show your hands. All opposed, sign. It is unanimous. Council, other action that we should take tonight in reference to our executive session. The chair would recognize Mayor Pro Tem Lamont for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Town Manager Stephen Seidel, effective October 2nd, 2016.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mayor Pro Tem Lamont made the motion. It is seconded by Kurtz. Stephen, we hate to see you go. We appreciate the time you have spent in Trophy Club, but we recognize you've got a great professional opportunity for you, and you'll always be you and your family always be part of our town, and we really appreciate your professionalism and your work ethic and your leadership. And so I really want to thank you and wish you the best in your career.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. It's been an honor to not just only serve as a town manager, but serve this community and our wonderful residents that we have, and the horizons that we have available, and what is at the cusp at our fingertips from a development perspective. We're really in the golden age of Trophy Club, and it's a great place, and I look forward to continuing, because I plan to eat at Meet You Anywhere and Breadwinners and other places.
Oh, yeah,
So
you're
it's,
gonna be
I won't be a stranger.
Yeah, we'll see you a lot. Stephen, I just want to echo what Nick said. In the, I guess, right around 18 months, you've been town manager, and obviously you've been here for a long time, going back to 2007, but you've made our jobs here that we do easier, and I've appreciated that. You've been very good to work with. You've made a lot of progress in a lot of areas in the town. I've enjoyed it, and I'm happy that you've found an opportunity that you measure is better than our little podunk town, so good for you, man.
Okay. All right, so anybody else want to make any comments?
Anybody that can get along with me is golden. So
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
But yeah,
I'll say quickly, I think you were great to work with. I think for me, the thing that you did best was you hired some great people. There's some great people around you. I think you brought the talent up in the town, and you helped change the culture of the staff, which I hope whoever comes in can continue to do that. So I think now it's a great place to work. I don't think it was a couple of years ago, so I appreciate it.
Anybody else? All right. Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor of accepting his resignation, show your hand. All opposed, same sign. No, I voted for. I just had to say, I didn't want him to leave, so I didn't want to accept his resignation. If we don't accept it, then it doesn't work?
I don't know what the rules are on that. Yeah.
Hey, attorney, right? If we don't accept it, he can't leave?
What do you tell you in front of him?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the only other action item dealing with our executive session is we're directing staff to finish making proposed changes to our proposed fire alley with the mud based on comments and what was in the packet, last mud packet, and get that back to the mud board as soon as possible.
Yeah, can we, is it okay if we have a little discussion on that?
Sure.
I just want to say that there's a couple of things in there that the mud board has asked for relative to understanding mud assets and how they're dealt with when they're being managed by another entity, and then also obviously we're going to have to come up with something that works for a budgetary process. And I just want to make it clear, because I'm sure most of them will check in and watch this part of the video, that I think both of those aspects are 100% reasonable. I understand where they're coming from on both of them, and so I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to come up with something that everybody thinks is reasonable.
Anybody else? All right, so before I adjourn, if anybody wants to read a letter that I got from Mayor Rawlins of Dallas, I sent him a letter after the shootings that happened there, offering any support that we could provide, and obviously the support of our council for the tough times that he was going through. And I didn't expect a letter back, given everything, but we did have a letter back from him. So if anybody wants to read it, they're welcome to do so.
Was that a motion, Mayor, that you were making earlier? Or just
No, it
direction?
was not a motion. It was just directing
Direction.
staff, that we've directed staff in our executive session. All right, it is 11:21, and we are adjourned.
I wrote my council representative.